I think this is the first online appearance of yours with people our age, right?
A lot of questions from those in my programs are from people your age, people even younger, even kids. I mean, 10, 12. We have had questions coming from 8-year-olds.
What does an 8-year-old ask?
अरे बड़े अच्छे अच्छे सवाल रहते हैं. 6 साल की बच्ची का भी एक सवाल, उसका टाइटल ही यही है कि 6 साल की बच्ची ने कुछ पूछा. तो बहुत सारे बच्चों के भी हैं. इनफैक्ट उन क्वेश्चंस को कंपाइल करके बच्चों पे किताब भी हमने पब्लिश करी है. तो लेकिन पॉडकास्ट में कोई हुआ है और ज़्यादा किसी यंग बंदे के साथ? प्रखर है प्रखर के साथ 21 में भी हुआ था, when he was yet younger. So then he would have been what, 22, 24 something.
3 years ago, 23.
23 रहा होगा. तो हुआ है. How old are you guys?
We're all 26.
26. ठीक है, मतलब 26 तो बहुत होता है.
हाँ वही.
26 तो बहुत होता है.
For our audience, I think this is they're discovering you through us, because I know our audience, they don't consume content like this, or they haven't probably heard. So if you were to introduce yourself in, say, I don't know, how can you introduce yourself in one sentence? I'm interested to see how you do it.
I'll be of interest, I'll be of use. My introduction will be less focused on me and more focused on the ones who are listening to the introduction. So I'll be of use to them.
So like, would you call yourself a helper for people?
Not really helper. I don't consciously try to help.
Okay.
But it somehow turns out that I end up being friendly. I end up being of use.
Was that always the case with you, like since you were younger?
See, that will always be the case with everybody who makes it a point to live as authentically as possible. If you are not trying to be fake, if you are not so afraid that you want to dominate or cheat or swindle the other person, then you don't need to do anything additional to help. Just not being violent towards the other, just not being scheming and cunning towards the other is sufficient. In unknown ways, you end up being a helper, even though being a helper sounds quite like condescending.
Right.
So that's not something I would want to tag myself as a helper or something. I would simply say I want to remain as natural as possible.
Okay.
And in the organic process of being authentic, it somehow happens that I end up being useful. Though between the beginning and the end, there might be a lot of cringe in between.
What do you mean by cringe?
You see, why is it so difficult to help oneself or to help somebody else? If someone is fallen there on the floor and you lend a hand, the person takes your hand, you pull him up, he gets up. There's nothing difficult or complicated in it, right?
Yeah.
But what if the fellow who has fallen actually develops a stake in remaining fallen?
Right.
That's possible, right?
Yeah.
That's imaginable. Someone who has fallen, for some reason, develops a stake in remaining fallen, and longer the period, and more the number of people around him who have chosen to remain fallen, the more will become his commitment to remaining at his fallen place. Now, if you go there and you extend your hand, the result might be a lot of struggle and strife, and that's what I'm calling as cringe.
Okay.
He'll say, dude, I'm already all right.
Refusing to,
Not
take
just
your help.
refusing, actually viewing the other as an aggressor and an intruder. I am in my cozy nest.
Yeah.
Here I am. I'm resting. I'm not fallen. I'm resting.
Yeah.
I'm enjoying. I'm relaxing. And why are you disturbing me? Further, all around me are people who are exactly like me. Huh? Why are you making me an outlier? I look at you and I say, what kind of piece, what sample is this man? And then he wants to add me to his type. We feel a bit ostracized. We also feel afraid. We don't want to be quickly helped because first of all, there is something very much within us that has brought us to a position where help becomes necessary. After all, our natural state should be such that nobody should require any help, no?
Right.
Why should I require help? Why should you require help? Why should anybody else require help? We should be capable and independent on our own. But most people, if you look at them, the condition is such that they are indeed in need of help.
Yeah.
Why is that so?
I think societal, like there is a persona that you should be independent like that. You should be able to do whatever you have to do by yourself.
At the same time, doesn't the society itself make you dependent in various external and more importantly internal ways on many people?
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
If you truly discover what all is coming from the society versus what is originally yours, you might be surprised to find that there is very little that is originally yours. We all are driven by one, the body, and two, the society.
Yes.
So there is very little that is original. And true help involves bringing someone, enabling someone to come to his or her original state. Not dependent on borrowed stuff. And not a slave to the physical demands either.
Right.
Right? And that's when you can say, wow, I'm not dependent. And therefore, I don't have to beg. Therefore, I don't have to crawl. Therefore, I can stand up on my own and live a life of freedom. Right? But this kind of help, if you see, would involve getting rid of your social and physical crutches. Right? And when you offer that to someone, often the first reaction is not of friendliness or welcome. The first reaction is, this fellow is coming to harm me. He is trying to do away with my crutches. And I don't have legs at all. That's what we have been made to believe. So we have to depend on external crutches. And true help involves helping people to realize that they don't need any crutches. People don't like that. We have become too habituated to crutches. Therefore, the cringe.
So, what I'm getting from this is, you're saying people come into this world, their default setting is perfect. It's good. No?
I talked of not only the society, but also the body.
Right.
People come into this world with the body, as the body, no?
Right.
Yeah.
The body itself is the first dependency. You see
But
how...
so you're saying we are not our body.
We'll come to that.
We'll go there.
Okay.
Let the discussion grow into that if it
right.
must. Huh?
Wow, I just went there.
No, we'll go back to what he asked you. He said, have you always been like this? But would you say that while growing up, maybe just observing the world around you made you think that there is a need for...
Yes. Observing myself as well, primarily observing myself and the world and my relationship with the world, you see that dignity is a difficult thing. You see that in very hidden and subtle ways, everything around you and within you wants to keep you in bondage, wants to keep you dominated. And for some reason, I happened to be rebellious. I still am. I happened to be youthful even when I was a kid. And I happen to be youthful even when I am no longer exactly young. And that youth didn't like being bossed over.
Right.
So it came naturally to figure out the fundamental reason why, as human beings, we must live dominated by others. Why is there that need? Why can't we live in dignity? So I was observing the world from that point, and that brought me to great writers, great people, great systems. Everything that is esteemed and sublime and elevated about our world and its history. So I read a lot. From different places, different perspectives. In fact, over the last few years, I have not really been reading much.
Right.
My days of prolific reading are behind me. When I was your age, that's when I was, in fact, when I was even younger than you, not even in my 20s, my teens, in my early 20s, that's when I was reading the max. So
what all did you consume at that age?
Everything,
that you feel like
everything. Because I was not guided by any particular principle or any particular tradition or a teacher or a particular school of thought. Okay. Therefore, I went into everything. My growth was very unorganized and very random. Like a wild tree branching out in all directions. All directions. Very randomly.
How did you, so that is, I think, step 0, in fact, to be in a place where you can have the freedom to be free from a certain school of thought, be free from a certain ideology that has dominated your childhood, that childhood to growing up, and then you get to have an open mind and go here, not being married to your own thoughts and opinions. That by itself is very rare. So when I see people around me, and even myself to some extent, I was like, at no point was I encouraged by my surroundings to go and find a path for myself.
Right. In that sense, I was lucky to have a father who was absolutely unintrusive. He didn't really positively encourage me to go and read this or read that or whatever. But at the same time, he made available to me stuff that I could go to on my own.
Okay. He was just guiding.
He was not even guiding.
Unintentionally.
He was creating an environment in which I could make the right decisions. He never made any decisions for me. In fact, we never had any long deliberations.
Okay.
He would just keep the right books at the right place. And when he would see that I needed something from him, he would drop a word. Very pithy and very brief, very succinct discussions I would have with him. Can't even call it a proper discussion.
Was he very reserved as a person?
Not reserved, but not verbose. He won't speak a lot.
Okay.
So, yes, so to that extent I was lucky. I wasn't encouraged to live free of all schools, but it was sufficient that I was not pushed towards a particular school.
Right.
I was left to be myself.
But you had a proper formal education, though, right? Like throughout the years? Yeah? Every school, college and like everything after
that? Convent educated, ICSC, ISC, IIT Delhi, IIM Ahmedabad.
You did everything.
So, no, in terms of formal education.
In terms of formal
as
education.
formal as it gets
like in terms of,
ICSE is interesting. I also studied ICSE, and later in life I realized the value. Because
we're both state board kids.
With these guys, then I talk about things that they have. No, but ICSE, I think within India, it's probably...
It's a higher standard of education, right? In the country.
Yes, especially when it comes to English literature and history. The coverage and the depth is superior to that of other boards. For example, in class 7th, I had 16 tales from Shakespeare, Charles and Mary Lamb. 8th, I again had Shakespeare. 9th, 10th, again Shakespeare. 11th, 12th, again Shakespeare. Now that's not something you would really get in the other educational boards.
It's always been like that. What did you have during your 9th and 10th? We had As
9th
You
and
Like
10th,
It.
we had Merchant of Venice.
I think they changed it to As You Like It later.
Must be. 11th, 12th, we had Macbeth. And no, Merchant of Venice was class 8th. 9th, 10th, we had Julius Caesar.
Okay.
7th, we had 16 Tales.
Yeah.
So that's how it went.
I always remembered in school, like the English period was one of our favorites. Like just with everyone, because there was so much, like you're being exposed to that at such a young age. And
Right.
it's such a break from your
So
typical...
you do plays, right? You do theatre in them also when you play them out?
We didn't have it in
We
our
didn't have
school.
that. Yeah.
Our school was a bit poor. But we had the...
Yeah.
Like we'd study and then you had question answers based on those.
See, I'm talking of the early 90s. Class 7th, class 10th, class 12th. 95 was when I did my class 12th. So a general thought was that as India would progress, the standards of education and the scope of the curricula would only get better and wider.
Right.
Somehow that didn't happen.
Yeah.
Somehow the next generation, which would be in my case would be yours, just didn't get that kind of exposure it needed to have for coping with a more global world. Because when I was having my days, India was just liberalized, 91. And you are facing a far more interconnected world.
Yeah.
You're living in a de facto global village.
Yeah.
So the kind of exposure that education should provide to you, that somehow hasn't materialized. But it doesn't matter. The internet is there.
Yeah.
We can be self-educated.
Yeah, I think the generation after us is the generation that will find all these resources. They can read about anything that they want.
Right.
They have access. Because we didn't have access.
Right.
I remember when we were in school, Wikipedia had just like become a popular thing that we would use for school projects.
That also was towards the end of our schooling.
Wikipedia in itself is so much of education.
Yeah.
If one is interested,
Yeah.
Wikipedia in itself is more than a school board.
Yeah.
Provided you are
True.
interested in learning.
It's so funny that we were discouraged from using Wikipedia because everyone uses that. So then they're like, if everyone is everyone is making the same assignment.
But copying for projects, etc.
Yeah, but
okay.
I mean, we would also just copy without going through it. That is, I think
Also, they want to sell textbooks, man. They want to sell other books and stuff also.
That's true. And also because some of the content on Wiki might not be authentic.
Yeah,
because that too is there.
Yep.
There are interest groups, there are lobbies that try to present Wiki,
manipulate the data a little bit.
it in a way favorable to their interests.
Yeah.
When we were growing up, they would still like sell encyclopedias at your doorstep.
Yeah. I had one, I think.
वो पूरा set आता था.
Pura.
That's how we got our education. Like I feel that's where at least the first 8-10 years of my life I would only read those books. So whatever I learned back then was mainly coming from these sources.
The kids today, they are luckier.
A lot luckier.
So where did you grow up? Like where was your...
Till class 10th, UP. My father had a transferable job. So my class 10th was in Lucknow. And after Lucknow, I came to NCR. So class 12th was there. And then college. IIT itself was Delhi. So again NCR. Then from there to Ahmedabad. And then again back to NCR. My jobs were in Gurgaon and Delhi. And the consulting job that I had, that involved traveling across the country. So I stayed for a while at Bombay as well, Bangalore, and at a few other places. And then I founded my organization. And since then it's been Delhi. Though it has involved so much traveling that I can hardly say that I live in NCR. I live all across the country.
Yeah, you travel the country to conduct you
there are to speak, to meet, for things like these. This is a new phenomena over the last few years. But I've been traveling since more than a decade now. So that's to meet audiences in the various cities.
Was this something that you always wanted to do? Like even when you were studying?
Nothing in my life is the way I wanted it to be. So
not even the educational part, because that seems
not really.
It takes a lot of effort to
do IIT and then IIM after that as well. So that's like
it just kept happening, and it has become a part of my internal culture to not to want much and to let it happen.
Right.
See, I went to IIT, and you would think how silly this man is. I went to IIT because I come from a family of bureaucrats. So those days, it was the IITians who were topping the civil services list.
Okay.
Right? So if you look at the UPSC, civil service examination, the IAS examination, top 10 ranks, 8 of them would be IITians. So after class 10th, when you have to choose your stream, whether you want to go towards bio or PCM or something, economics, I was actually inclined towards everything. I was not particularly a science-leaning guy. I had great interest in history and geography as well. So all the subjects in ICSE I had performed very well. In fact, that is the reason, just to boast a little, I could attain All India rank 3 in ICSE.
Wow.
My time, because I was doing well in all the subjects, and so the aggregate was good. So it's not as if I was typically a PCM guy, but because we saw that if you're in IIT, your chances to make it to the IAS are brighter. So I wrote the JEE. That's how I landed at that place.
Then you got the best college.
Yes. And IIM Ahmedabad, again, I was more interested towards IAS. I filled the forms for both the civil services examination and the CAT the same year. November, I wrote the civils mains. December, I wrote the CAT. I had not really prepared much. How much can you prepare in 1 month? Less than 1 month.
Yeah, for CAT, people take years usually.
Yeah, so I had some 20-25 odd days I prepared in those days. And I was not, IIT was still a final place to go to. IIM was not at all a place I wanted to be at. When I actually landed at Ahmedabad, the campus, I actually wept, because that's not the place I ever wanted to be. Right. But then I also didn't know what else to do.
You wanted to be.
What else to do. And logic told me, reason told me that the education part is good here. That I'll learn a lot about the world, about how the whole business thing operates, how the economies operate. So I said, fine, keep your feelings and emotions apart. Learn what this place has to offer for the next 2 years. So I did that.
What about the place was like put you off? Like what about
There was nothing in the place that put me off.
Okay.
It's just that mostly people go there with a profit motive, no?
Yeah.
That if you go there, you will get great placements.
Yeah.
No, somehow I was not interested in great placements.
That wasn't your mindset.
That wasn't in my mind, to earn a lot of money.
Okay.
Right. So the primary motivation in my case was lacking.
Yeah.
I was inclined towards something else. Right. How to make that something else possible, I didn't know at all.
Did you even know what you were inclined towards?
No, not very
right?
clearly.
Yeah.
Not very clearly. Just vaguely. I knew that I didn't like the shape of the world as it was. I just as, when I look out from the window that you have, there is a building right in front.
Yeah.
And I don't like the looks of it. So that's the way I have been all my life. And it does not pertain only to objects outside of me. There is a lot within myself as well, that I tend to be ruthless about. I cannot hide a thing once I have seen it. So just as I don't like that unpainted building,
Unfinished also.
unfinished, unpainted. So if you see, I spent at most 5 minutes on that sofa, peeping out from that window, and I look at the skyline and I say, no, this is not how it ought to be. It can be much more beautiful. Now that's something I tend to, that's a hard word, but let me put it, I tend to worship.
Okay.
Beauty, aesthetics. And that's the way I want the world to be. When I look at people, men and women, when I look at young people, I want them to be courageous. I want them to be risk-taking. And not as a dictate, but because being fearless is our natural state. And I find it pathetic that people are afraid, that people are deeply conditioned, that they don't live the lives they are capable of potentially. So that's what I wanted to do. But as you said, I just had no idea how to make that possible. So then, being short of alternatives, I said, fine, a management education is a good thing. You learn a lot. Plus, you live with people who are at least competitive.
Correct.
And carry a certain intellect.
Right.
And are disciplined. So it's a good place. No qualms with the campus. I'm grateful to what I learned from there. And I would not want to trade the 2 years that I spent there. But the problem was from my side, not the side of the campus. That's not what I principally wanted to do. I didn't had the motive to learn business and earn money. I was aiming at something else, and the trouble was I didn't know what I was aiming at.
So I think that state of uncertainty.
Yes.
I think uncertainty is one of the things that bothers a person more than anything. Whether it's financial, whether it's with
it
life.
makes you very anxious.
Even now, I mean, for you, your backups were like IIM and IIT. For a lot of people, that's like where they're trying to get. And for them also, it's the uncertainty of मेरे से हो पाएगा नहीं होगा, because it's insanely competitive.
It's a goal for people, most people.
It's most people's dream to get into.
See, it's not the whole thing is not like the mental model we carry of it. First of all, the world has changed a lot since the year 2000, 2001, when I was writing my competitive exams. The number of avenues and possibilities has grown manifold. Secondly, your life isn't decided by what you have done till 21 or 25. Right. Everything that you do at any stage of your life counts. How is it possible, logically, that what you did at the age 20 counts for much more than what you are doing at age 30 or 40? It's not that way. So you can take off at any point. You can cause an about turn, a U-turn at any point. It's not that you have to be utterly anxious about how you perform in college or just after college, or the placement you get or the college you get. We place undue stress on all that. Not needed.
It's a little, in the moment it feels like it's the end of the world.
It's the end of the world, right?
It
feels that way.
Not that.
Yes, it feels that way.
बाद में realize होता है थोड़ा आगे.
Life is a long affair, very long affair. It's not about getting that plum offer in that moment itself. Wait. And when I say wait, it's not just about 1 year or 2 years. There are so many people who take off at the age 40, at 55, even in the corporate world. In any particular world.
It's all about believing.
It's all about believing. And also, please see, it would sound unrelated, but it isn't. The average lifespans have been increasing tremendously. There were times when the average person would be defunct by the time he was 55 or 60.
That's also a good life.
Right.
Because there were so many diseases.
But now, please see, that we are living for much longer. And even the morbidity-free, which is the disease-free lifespan that we have, is much longer. See, earlier, if you were living for, let's say, 65, the thing is that you were already sick since 50.
Correct.
Since 50, right? Now, because of so many other reasons, at least in the West, in India, that is yet to fully happen. At least in the West, your morbidity-free life itself has extended to 65 or 70. Then why start weeping at 25 as if life is over? Even at 65, it is possible now to be as disease-free and almost as full of energy as when you are, let's say, at 35. So why believe at 35 as if it is the end of the road? It is not. It is not. You can start much later and still, and there is no need to bog yourself down with unnecessary weight.
So then what do you focus on during this phase of your life, like in your 20s, let's say, if you're going to, do you focus more on having experiences? What do you do?
See, experiences we are anyway having all the time.
Right.
This is an experience. You go to your bed, that is an experience. You get up, you brush your teeth, that is an experience. Experience is happening all the time. It's about not being afraid in your experiences. It's about not being repetitive in your experiences. We do have experiences, but we have only very categorized experiences, very regimented experiences. Because we are afraid. So one thing, we do not allow the scope of our experiences to broaden. Secondly, we do not allow our experiences to have depth. The moment anything starts taking depth, we become afraid. Have you not seen that?
Yeah.
That happens even in relationships.
If it gets serious.
All the time. Huh? Yeah, you resonate with that, right?
Yeah.
So as long as it's a superficial, as long as it's a superficial thing, fine, ठीक है, थोड़ा बहुत sex है, ठीक है, fine.
I just had a full flashback.
See, moment it starts taking depth, we start shivering inside, as if something creepy is going to happen. Now, it's possible that something new happens. But, and because something is new, it might appear a bit, what's the right word for that? Because it is unknown, therefore it may appear a bit scary. Just because it is unknown, just because you are experiencing it for the first time. But that does not mean that it is harmful. Does scary automatically translate into harmful? Please tell me.
No.
Not automatically.
Not automatically.
Yeah, not automatically.
Not automatically. Right?
Yeah.
So you have to allow yourself to have the courage to experience even that which is prima facie scary.
Yeah. Like stage fright. People have a lot of stage fright. It's scary, but once you do it enough times.
You have to read a lot. You have to meet a lot, interact a lot, travel a lot. That's what your 20s is for.
What were your 20s like?
You said you were 26, right?
Yes.
When I was your age, I had already established my organization. So, and all of that was bootstrapping. None of that involved raising any external funds. So, I was struggling a lot. But that does not mean that I was unhappy. I'm struggling even today. Probably as much as or even more than how I was struggling 2 decades back then.
We call it hustling now.
There's a new word for it.
Hustling.
Hustling is the cool word.
Yeah, hustling is a cool word. Probably I was hustling. I would acknowledge that. I was hustling. Yes. But that does not mean that I was suffering. You can hustle and yet take all that a bit lightly, almost as a joke. You can still be cool about it. You can still go and have your game of cricket or soccer or badminton or whatever you love. You can still watch your favorite movies. You can have a very tough day and still come back and fool around with whosoever is with you. Some little kid, your brother, your girlfriend, whosoever it is.
I mean, for me at least personally, every time in a situation where I think things are getting stressful also, I say like my stress, which is for me stress. If I maybe mention it to someone else, they'll be like, isko tu stress bol raha hai, I have this, my own. But it's important to just like tell yourself, kya hi hoga, matlab
कुछ नहीं होता है. आप मर भी जाते हो तो कुछ नहीं होता है.
तब तो एक्चुअली
आप मर भी जाते हो तो आपको तो कोई फर्क पड़ता नहीं,
बाकी सब
दुनिया को भी कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ता, कुछ नहीं होता, कभी कुछ नहीं होता, फालतू का बस टेंशन होता है.
Yeah.
Chill. And when you know that you can chill even in the middle of tension, only then you get the guts to undertake massive projects. Otherwise, it is just the fear of failure that will stop you from doing anything significant.
Right.
You have to be ready for failure at all points. You have to, and then you can not even be dominated. Forget about being bogged down. Nobody can dominate you. Nobody can arm twist you. No force around you can blackmail you. You'll simply say, I'm ready for failure. What is it that you can take away? What is it that you can take away? I'm ready for that. And then it's fine. Wonderful.
But being prepared for failure, I think, is the biggest challenge that we face.
And you can be prepared for failure only when you are already a winner. Think of it. Internally, when you know that you are a champion, then you say, let the failures come. They don't matter. They don't matter.
Let's go back to the relationship thing we were talking about, because you said people get scared of depth as soon as it starts going somewhere. So where do you think that comes from? Like, I can give you my perspective of it. I think there is a lot of factors. There is social media. There is just like your exposure to the possibility of romance has increased a lot. I saw this one meme that relationships nowadays, there's so many options to choose from. Back in the day, like a man would meet 5 women in his life. And he had to like pick one for his life partner.
That's true.
Now on a daily basis, like I open my Instagram, there's like one after the other.
Right.
So I'm assuming that is a factor.
Right.
And
you see, we know that relationships require a certain investment of attention, time, energy, even money. We know that, right? Life itself gets invested in a serious relationship. Now think of it. You go to a particular restaurant. It's a crude example, but get the drift, please. You go to a restaurant that is serving exotic food of a type you have never tasted or known before. Let's say from a strange country you have never been to or heard of. A strange small country somewhere in South America, let's say. Peruvian food, right? Apologies to everybody from Peru if they are at all.
Our Peru audience is angry, I guess.
we can offend them.
We don't want to offend you, but it's just that. So you don't know Peruvian food. And there is this menu that comes to you, right? The dishes happen to be all expensive. You don't know what's in there.
Spending it.
But the names are all exotic. Also, because it happens to be an exotic restaurant, they've also put a very nice, cute pic of the dish there. As happens in the age of Insta, right? You have even food porn. So nice pic and you put it there. So the name sounds exciting. You look at the pic and you're almost salivating.
We're not talking about food, are we?
It took you a while to realize.
See, that came off. So we are surely not talking about food.
Sambhal, bhai.
Sorry, I couldn't hold it.
Getting excited. I didn't know you were into
Peruvian. It sounded very exciting.
But the cost is significant. Aside, they had put this one, right? The prices start from $1,400 and run up to 8,000 for a dish, right? For a single serving.
Wow.
And the waiter there, he's insisting, there are 4 of you, right? I recommend this. Why don't you order this, that, this? All 4 of us would be staring at each other. What to order and what not to, because we do not know. We do not know 2 things. It gets a bit serious here. We do not know the dish. We do not know our taste. We do not know what is good for us. We also do not know whether the thing in front is that which is good for us.
Yeah.
That's what happens in relationships. This thing on a serious note, classically, is called self-knowledge,
Okay.
Atmagyan. I do not know what is good for me. How do I choose anything for me then? How do I choose even a shirt or a handkerchief or a car, let alone a girl? How do I choose? I don't know what is good for me. It's almost like choosing a medicine for yourself without knowing your disease. What happens to such patients?
I mean, they're going to...
They get worse, right?
Yeah.
They might even die.
Yeah.
Right? Relationship is that way. You bring the wrong thing into your life and it can prove to be
Like
Fatal.
Yeah.
fatal, yeah.
But at the same time, we all do need something great in life. It is not possible to live without relationships. And relationship is not just about man-woman thing, right? Even this thing, I'm speaking into this mic is a relationship.
Yeah.
Me holding this mug here is a relationship, is it not? You reading a book is a relationship of a different nature. Of a different nature. Right?
You're committing in all cases. to
Yes,
something.
you're committing in all. Wonderful. Very well said. You're committing to a book.
Yeah.
I'll be giving next 15 days to this book. You're
Yeah.
committing, right?
Yeah.
Wonderful. You must know which book you must read. For that, you must know where you stand. You must know what are your fears. You must know what are your dark areas. You must know what are your blind spots.
Yeah.
If you do not know all that, how do you get that person into your life? And you'll get just the wrong kind of person into your life, and that would be violence two-sided.
Correct.
Yeah.
You'd be violent towards her, she would be violent towards you. And all that is unplanned, all that is very unwitting. Nobody wanted it to happen that way.
Yeah.
But it happens. And then that you can call as the hell of relationships.
Yeah.
Yeah? So much violence happens in the name of relationships. Violence is just not about beating on the other.
Yeah.
It's the
Violence can be
mental-
very subtle as well.
Yeah.
Emotional.
Emotional. You are continuously waiting for that particular message. This is violence. Is it not?
Yeah.
Is it not? At the same time, you are spamming the other with messages. Even that is violence.
Yeah.
So knowing oneself is the first thing. And then you ought to have the eye to know the other also.
Yeah.
And then you ought to have the heart to not to use the other for your selfish interests. I know myself. I also know you. And I also see that there is a possibility that I might try to use you.
Yeah.
I would neither use you nor allow myself to be used. Then you get a wonderful relationship.
Yeah.
And it could be Peruvian, doesn't matter.
Yeah. That is actually it's a very nice way to put it, because with knowing yourself, that's one step.
Yeah.
Knowing yourself and also figuring out what I want from a relationship, which may come after a couple of relationships. Bad, good, whatever.
Yes.
You take the good and the bad and you're like, okay, mereko abhi, this is what I need. And then when you know yourself to a certain level, it becomes very easy to be manipulative,
Yeah.
which is also another cause
And when you know yourself a bit more, then you see the futility of manipulation.
Yeah.
That's one step higher.
So self-knowledge is not something that should stop at any point. You know a little bit of yourself, you become a shana. Because now you are a bit of a psychologist
Yeah.
who can manipulate others. You
Right.
understand how minds work, and therefore how minds can be manipulated to
Yeah.
your
Right.
interest. But when you know yourself a bit deeper, then you see that when you manipulate the other, it is the other you harm. Equally, you harm yourself as well. In your own interest, you should avoid manipulation. In fact, the other would be manipulated just once. But if you become manipulative, then
They'll
you
never stop.
then you will
Pattern,
have to
yeah.
live with yourself all the while long. The other would be rescued. He would be manipulated once and then he would run away.
Yeah.
He or she.
Yeah.
Her best
There's
friend
a-
will tell her. Ki,
Her best friend
"Arey,
will tell her
what is
something.
this?"
You know,
कि pattern है इसमें.
right,
Yeah.
right.
There's an expiry date to that manipulation.
There's an expiry date. Once robbed, now it's gone.
Yeah.
But you have to live with yourself. And you
Yeah.
are the manipulator.
Yeah.
And the manipulator is living with the creep that he is.
Yeah.
And that's not good company to keep.
Yeah. So then now, in the meanwhile, while you're discovering yourself, you're seeing what you like, a lot of people, the approach they take is, we'll be casual until I figure out. Like, you will be with someone, you might even have a physical relationship with them, exclusive. You're not seeing anyone else. But you're not committing because I'm figuring it out. And then maybe after a couple of months, it'll fizzle out and then you're on the next one.
No, I understand. I mean, the way it has been phrased, it is absolutely fine. That I am figuring it out. Figuring life out is a wonderful thing. But exploiting the other in the name of, in the garb of figuring things out is not cool.
Right.
That's not cool.
If it's manipulative, then it's not.
Right.
It becomes-
You see, yes, there are testing samples. You want to buy a perfume or even certain edibles. They give you something to test and taste.
Yeah, tester. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That's a little sample. You are not allowed, you are not supposed to consume the whole dish and say, I'm still figuring out what to
if I
order.
want.
You have had a full meal at their expense.
Yeah.
And what are you saying? I'm figuring out what to order. You already had a full meal, dude. What do you mean by that?
That's a cheap thing. Like ice cream shop.
Ice cream shop mein or just
But you're finishing the ice cream. You're not just tasting a
you're
small
not
bite.
tasting.
Yeah.
Or the way they go to a मूंगफली vendor.
हाँ थोड़ा ये वाला भी
थोड़ा दिखा ना, थोड़ा नमकीन वाला दिखा.
हाँ थोड़ा
ऐसे
उसमें
करके
और
इतना
डाल
खा लिया.
हाँ
That's not cool.
yeah
Yeah.
right.
Also, I think this is like this whole figuring it out. A lot of the times it's used when you know it's not going anywhere, but you don't want to
Upset
lose that.
because-
No, let go. You
Yeah.
want,
You
you
don't
still
let
want
go.
access.
Yeah.
It's because interests are at stake. Because you don't want to commit and you still want to keep using the other's body.
Yeah.
That's simply it.
That's usually
Because usually if you're with someone that you like, you understand pretty quickly that there is a
Also, it's not that there is nothing between a frivolous relationship and a committed relationship.
right.
A relationship is an entire process of evolution.
Correct.
You don't have to commit all at once.
yeah.
But a relationship is an organic thing. It's like life. It grows. And it can keep growing for 10 years, 20 years, 40 years, all life. Right? You don't have to just say that, it starts from here and then it attains an end when we commit.
Correct.
That growth is very important. That growth is very important. I'm growing, you are growing, and the way we are relating to each other, that is growing.
Right.
We are relating to each other at higher levels.
Yeah.
We are bringing more and more goodness into each other's life, more freedom into each other's life, more illumination into each other's life. Since you came to my life, the quality of books I pick has improved. How does that sound?
Yeah, it sounds great.
And then the other one says, since the day you came into my life, I've quit smoking. I don't know why. You never asked me to quit. But it so happens that the number of cigarettes has terribly reduced. It's gone down to 1 a day. And I used to consume a pack a day.
Yeah.
And it has just happened. Now, these are telltale signs that the relationship is good. That there is a certain wellness that is coming to both the parties. On the other hand, if it's just about bumping each other each night, doesn't take you far, because all that loses its charm pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Would you say it's a wasteful use of your time and energy into like putting your effort into casual relationships?
See, relationships are inevitable. And relationships from a sexual perspective, they too are inevitable. It doesn't matter what kind of sexual relationship, heterosexual, homosexual, depends on you, figure that out, all that fine. But we are sexual beings. This body has been designed by Mother Prakriti to be sexual. So all that will happen. The question is, are we only this body, like an animal? Or is there something more to us than the body?
Yeah.
Or will the body dictate all my actions? We are not talking of repressing the body. We have already said inevitable. That aspect, that dimension of our existence, our personality is they're going to be there. But can I get into a physical relationship in a way that it elevates my consciousness? Because I'm not just the body.
Yeah.
I'm not just the body. Does the choice of my partner does not tell something about the chooser?
Yes. Yeah, it does.
See, would you go to the worst kind of sellable material if you yourself are not sellable? Asking you. Please tell me. There are people who put themselves on sale
Yeah.
I'm not just talking about the prevalent kind of prostitution.
Mm-hmm.
We put ourselves on sale
There are
in
many
many
people
ways.
yeah.
In many ways, right?
Yeah.
Now, if you are someone who says, I don't put a price tag on me, would you go to someone who is always available for sale?
No.
So, the person you choose tells something about who you are.
Yeah.
Right.
Keep that in mind. Keep that in mind. And if you invite the wrong kind of person into your life, in a fit of unconsciousness, that will drag you down. Therefore, one has to be very, very careful about love. Very careful. These choices make or break your life. The right person, the wrong person, and it's not just about you. The same thing you inflict on your partner as well. If you are not the right person for him or her, you drag her down.
Yeah.
You have to be very careful about who is it that we are bonding with.
It's a
And
give
obviously,
take.
we are not prescient beings. We are not perfect beings either. So in the beginning, we can never know for sure.
Yeah.
But then honesty demands that when you start seeing it, don't unsee it. Don't become a slave to your physical cravings.
Don't
Yeah.
fool yourself also.
Because you see, by the time you start seeing that the person might be unfit for you,
Yeah.
it's possible you have already entered a physical phase. And then there is the lust and the habit of the body. One has to have the courage and the honesty to say, no, nothing doing, this stops here.
Yeah.
This stops here because now I can see that this thing is good neither for me nor for you.
Yeah.
The strength it takes is...
It takes a lot of strength.
Yeah.
Yes, it does. It does. And even if you have that strength, let's admit it, for a while, it does feel like hell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A day, 2 days, 7 days, sometimes entire months,
Yeah.
right? It remains a bit gloomy.
Yeah.
But as grown-up people, we must have the caliber to live with that gloom rather than carry on with the gloom and let it become even darker, even murkier.
Yeah, I think a lot of that can be prevented, like within a relationship, by having an open line of communication always and just telling the other person how you feel, no matter how much it might hurt them. Obviously, not just to say things. There are some things that you can keep to yourself, but if you feel like it's detrimental for the relationship,
Yes, you have to tell the other person, but first of all, you have to tell to yourself.
Yeah.
The first dishonesty that we commit is not towards the other, but towards ourselves.
Yeah.
We don't tell ourselves the facts, even though they are in plain sight. You can see things, yet you choose to unsee. If you have told it to yourself, sometimes it is possible that you might not even need to verbally communicate it. It would be communicated even without use of words. But first of all, see it yourself.
Yeah.
See it, how is it going? And it's not just about breaking up, you see. It's also about forming a relationship. I often say, love is something that doesn't come to you just by dint of having this body, just by birth. प्यार सीखना पड़ता है. One has to learn love. It is also possible that a fellow who does not appear otherwise attractive to you, the thoughts might not match, the body might not be ultra attractive. It is possible that you start seeing that this person, despite his or her apparent unattractiveness, is the right one. And then you should equally have the courage to go and say, can we be friends? Can we be friends? So just as it requires courage to stop the wrong thing, it requires an equal degree of courage to initiate the right thing.
Right.
And it requires no courage to just fall in love. How much courage does it take to just fall? You're sitting here, you get drunk, you fall. That's how you fall in love.
Happened a few times.
Too many times.
You wanted to ask something?
I forgot my train of thought.
Okay, let's say now all of this is done and now for whatever reason it didn't work out. A lot of people get stuck in that loop of कि move on नहीं हो रहा है, क्या करूँ? I want to keep reaching out, I want to call her, I want to text her, I can't get over
See,
it.
some part of us, to be honest, never moves on. It's a part of being human, you see.
Yeah.
Some part of it, the relationship, remains with us.
Because the memories don't go away.
It doesn't go away.
Yeah.
The thing is to keep inviting sunshine into your life, and it is not always necessarily in the form of a person. Why can't you travel abroad? Why can't you see different cultures? Trekking, hiking, there is so much that you can do.
Yeah.
No? And I'm not talking about consciously trying to put something behind you. I'm saying that's what a rich life is about. Where is the next novel? Where is the next piece of art?
Experiences.
Where is the next daring experience?
Yeah.
Where is the next course you are enrolled into? How is your learning stopping midway? There's so much on the internet today. There are so many open schools, so many open universities. Why are you not learning a new language or a new skill or whatever? Why you're not learning history? Today so much is happening in the name of history. Look at our country.
Yeah.
How can we afford to be uneducated about it? So life is so rich and life is so short. How can we just waste time mulling over something that's behind us?
Yeah.
Equally, we know it will remain with us. Some part of it will remain. So let's reconcile. It will remain. Yet I have to continue inviting richness and, as I said, brightness into our life.
Yeah. Like you had that experience, now you have it
You
with
have
you.
to
Now you
accept
got
that
to
it
move
will
on.
always be
Experience
with
is
you.
there,
Yeah.
and I'll learn from it.
Yeah.
And I don't wish bad to anybody. If possible, I'll still want to be friendly. All that is fine. But I cannot just allow myself to be pensive and gloomy and waste 6 months in the bed, drinking or smoking or just sleeping. You sleep a lot after a breakup.
Yeah.
Speaking from experience.
Normal human life.
That's actually true. You only feel the things you feel if you have a lot of free time. 'Cause we've been through.
It is a kind of unearned luxury, is it not?
Yeah.
Someone who has true responsibilities to shoulder and a true war to fight.
Yeah.
How can he keep ruminating over a breakup?
Yeah.
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah.
It happens the previous night, you're on your job the next morning.
Yeah.
Right? And that's not for money.
Yeah.
That's for your heart. That's because you are a man and you are responsible.
You have a purpose.
You have a purpose in life. Wonderfully said. Yes.
That's actually true in recent times. Ever since we've gotten very busy, whatever setbacks I've had in like romantic relationships have not bothered me as much.
Because there's always something to do.
Yeah, because I'm not getting the time to sit and linger.
Yeah.
ऐसा बीच में कभी बैठा हूँ, I'm like, अरे यार.
Yeah, the thought
He
will,
says it out loud also.
the thought will come.
So we know.
Also, in a sense, this isn't practical, the thing that I'm going to say. But just consider it as a piece of theory. Even as a piece of theory, it may have some importance. Why must a breakup mean a final conclusion?
Between you and that person?
Yes, a complete full stop. Why must it translate into that? I mean, just as getting together was a process, similarly, letting the relationship come to another steady state can be a process. Instead, what do? We say when we are together, we'll be like this, always sticking to each other. And isn't that claustrophobic?
It is.
When you're always sticking to the other, don't you get suffocated? And when we break up, then we'll be like this, never looking at each other.
Yeah.
Why can't there be a more decent equilibrium like this? Neither this nor this,
Yeah.
but this. But
Yeah.
this.
Yeah, I
So
think-
I could never fully understand the concept of breakup.
But to do that, it requires immense level of maturity from both ends.
Maturity. And also, you should not have a great taste for suffering.
Yeah.
Because this,
Sometimes people like it.
Yeah.
like to suffer. Huh?
Yeah.
That's
Because this is
toxic.
like tearing a part of your body away.
Yeah.
And it hurts.
Yeah.
See, if this is not working out, let it be this.
Hmm.
Why should it be this?
Because this then in the middle suddenly comes to this again. Goes back.
So let there be a pendulum-like swing then.
Yeah.
Even this is fine.
Yeah.
Even this is fine. This has certain liveliness to it, a certain organic quality to it. But this, and then suddenly this. This is violence.
Yeah.
This is violence.
Yeah, I think every successful relationship that I've seen, it's been like this, where they haven't been like too tight all the time.
Yes, yes.
They've just been growing
and
up.
even this concept, just as I said that the concept of breakup is something I can't fully decipher. Similarly, the concept of this, mandatory togetherness is again something I cannot decipher.
Yeah.
Why can't we give space to each other?
Why can't we? I always ask this.
Because it's far more stable when it is like this.
Yeah.
Far more stable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
And this is not just violent. This is also unstable, because if it is this way, then in this age of freedom and liberty, inevitably this will result into this. So if you want the relationship to have a long life, then let it be like this.
You have to practice
Let
that.
it breathe. Leave
Let
some
it
room.
breathe. Yes, let it breathe.
Yeah.
I used to say, I don't know, because none of you are married, right? Obviously.
No.
I used to say, I still say to my grown-up audiences, I say this very concept of a double bed and a bedroom, a sleeping room, is not just vulgar, it is untenable. It could have worked in the age of predominantly arranged marriages, where social, religious and legal sanctions ruled the roost. Now, this compulsorily sleeping by each other is vulgar. Have your own spaces, and when you want to get together, come together.
You're saying separate bedrooms to sleep.
Good luck with that.
She will not be happy about that.
No, you're mistaken. Women love this idea.
Yeah.
Women love this idea. It's just that the image that we have of them is that of an emotional clinger.
Yeah.
The women are so emotional, they come and cling. It's not really always that way. It's not always that way.
I like cuddling.
As two
Every night.
I would love to. It's nice. Yeah.
As two responsible, mature, independent adults, have your separate rooms. And when you want to come together.
Yeah.
Or travel together. Go out somewhere once a month or something, whatever.
Yeah.
No, I'm on board with that idea. I just personally don't enjoy sleeping around anyone else.
Yeah.
Let alone like this.
It's a very personal thing.
Yeah.
Sleep, I feel you should have your own
It's your
space
rest.
where you can rest out.
Oh, मैं हाथ रखा हूँ, हाथ पे
Also,
खून
compulsory
There's no
sleeping
blood.
together, yes, of course. Not only can it lead to a numbing down of the hand, also it can lead to a premature breakup. If one of you two farts a lot, think of it.
Yeah, that's a problem.
If you're a sleep farter, thank God. Yeah.
Now we spoke about all of this. This is like in a good situation where you're able to, first of all, find someone, get into a relationship. There's a lot of people who are struggling to just even cross that first level. Like they can't even have a conversation with, as a guy. Mostly this is a guy problem.
It is
I think.
mainly a guy problem.
Girls don't even conceive having a conversation. So it is not yet their problem. But they too will face this problem when they'll be emboldened enough to approach a guy.
Yeah, it's usually...
Right now the culture is that the girl never makes the first move.
Yeah.
Society has
In general.
structured
Yeah,
out.
overall, I'd say
Overall.
yes. I agree.
And more so in the interiors.
Yeah.
It's not, the girl is not supposed to make the first move.
Yeah.
So it's not yet their problem. But when they will find that they need to make a move, the guy's problem will become the girl's problem. They'll
Right.
say, no, how do I make the first move? This,
Yeah.
that. The thing is, the first move becomes so difficult only because it becomes so significant. Don't let it become so significant. Approach the other like you approach anybody else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But because we have something very, very big in mind,
Yeah.
you know what that bigness is, what that big thing is, nothing but sex.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The
because
prospect
even
of it.
the prospect of it. Because even before making the first move, you already have sex in mind.
Yeah.
Therefore, you find yourself stumbling and your tongue and your legs are shivering and all those things are. And why is all this kind of nervousness so much upon you? Just because you're thinking a lot. Just because you're making the move so significant for you.
You're overthinking it most of the times.
I mean, if you find yourself stammering and shivering while approaching a girl or anybody, you must know that you are being utterly selfish.
Ooh, so there is some selfish motive.
Think of a job interview.
You're scared.
You're so scared.
Yeah.
Exactly like when you are going to propose someone.
When you want something.
When you want something, it is then that your tongue stammers and your legs shiver.
Right.
Why must you want something, anything so desperately? Why must you be so desirous, so needy? Why can't you always be a champ, a winner within? Why can't you walk with very cool confidence?
That works also.
Very different kind of confidence, which you cannot even call as confidence. Just a natural state.
Yeah.
Just a natural state of freedom. To an HR person or to a girl. See, in both the cases, you are actually just trying to feed your desire, no?
Yeah.
This
Fulfill a
HR
need.
person is going to provide you with money.
Yeah.
The girl is going to provide you with sex. And these are the two principal human motives, money and sex. And that's why you find the human condition exactly the same while making these two moves.
Yeah, I was having a conversation with someone who was talking about this, and I said, you can't make every interaction with a girl like the last ball of a cricket final where you need 6 runs.
Yes.
It's okay, matlab.
That's such a good way to put it across.
Yeah,
Yes.
because it's...
And also think from the point of view of the girl, please.
Exactly.
Is it not demeaning?
Yeah.
Is it not a loss of dignity? Is it not a dehumanization of her entire personality?
Yeah.
That either you don't approach her or you approach her
With only one motive.
with only one subtle motive at the back
Yeah.
of your mind, sex. That's like pulling her entire body down to her genitals.
Yeah.
While she's much more. She can think, she can talk, she has skills. She is everything that we are and probably beyond us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And yet we just reduce her to something very small.
Yeah.
That is one thing. Another thing is, I think it's the lack of confidence in general. You're saying, why can't you be cool? For a lot of people, that's just an unimaginable thing to do, to be just cool and walk. Because people have their insecurities. Someone thinks they're not maybe physically attractive.
To them, I will say, it's not about walking up to the girl. It's not about talking to the girl. It's about talking firstly to yourself.
Yeah.
Talk to your desires. Ask yourself, why must I desire her so much? Yes, she is fine. Yes, she is fine. But it's not as if she is the end of the road for me. Right? The less you are a captive to your desire, the more spontaneous and free and beautiful you will be in your approach and your interactions. So it's about being yourself first. It's about being sorted out internally first. The less sorted out you are, the more complicated your relationships will be.
Yeah.
Would you say then, before even thinking of getting into that game, you look at yourself, and if you think you lack confidence, you build the confidence?
See, it's like this. Let's say I'm coming to propose and there she is. And as I move towards her, I find that my mouth is drying. I find my skin is burning. I find I'm beginning to stammer and the head is spinning. I'll stop midway. I'll not push myself to proceed. I'll stop midway. I'll turn around and I'll say, no, dude.
Not today, I guess.
Not today, and that's not the way. If this is how I am, then I don't deserve to go to her.
Yeah.
But some people are like that just in general with a lot of things.
No, nobody can be like that. If you are like that, then the society has disfigured your mind very badly. And the onus of repair is on you.
Yeah. No one else.
Repair
can
your,
do.
yeah, of course. Who else is going to live your life?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So go back. Be with yourself. Spend time with yourself. Sort yourself out.
Work on yourself first.
Work on yourself first. And then you will find that it's a very breezy thing to approach anybody.
Yeah.
Be it a teacher, be it a prospective employer, or a girl, or anybody.
I mean, now there are obviously a lot of cases which are, let's say you're someone who's unfortunate enough, you've been dealt a bad genetic hand. Let's say you're short, or maybe you're not conventionally attractive. Financially also, maybe you're not doing that well. You don't come from a... Those are things that play a lot on your mind, because then you've put that girl or whoever it is on a pedestal. They're bigger than me. They're much more than... Why will they...
See, that's where the importance of exposure comes. If you have been in the company of greats, then you would see that their greatness has never been defined by their looks. And that convinces you that even your own looks are insignificant. Whereas if you have only been in the company of people whose entire claim to greatness is via their physical appearance, then you get internally convinced that your physical appearance is the end of your personality.
It's that bubble that you live in.
How you talked of being short, right? How long was Napoleon Bonaparte? How long was he?
I don't know.
Like, he wasn't that very tall, is what I've read.
Or you look at any of these great scientists, you look at this civilization, I mean, look at the people who gave us the radio signal, the various frequencies. Think of those who gave us all these items in electricals and electronics, the entire computer science. Look at the way they looked. I mean, look at that fellow in that pic there.
Oh, he's a very big...
How sexy does he look? Please tell me.
He's actually a very desired man. And
No, this is like makeup and stuff.
That's like a
But I get
look.
what you're saying.
Yeah, I know what you're saying. Yeah. It comes from intellect, like, as opposed to physical attributes.
Yeah.
Yesterday, when I was... which place was that where we had that interaction with Rodrigo? So as we came down, there was this fellow with the table half the size of this, and he was keeping around 100 Hindi books, top class Hindi books there. Most of those books also had the pics of authors. I assure you, none of the authors were attractive to look at. And yet they are great.
Yeah.
Now, if you have spent a life with those authors or scientists or anybody who has been great in any field, philosophy, religion, politics, sports, you figure out that it's not their face or the body line that defines them. It is something else. And then you know for sure that you can talk to the other in spite of being short, or somebody has a jaw leaning towards one side or whatever. I mean, strange things can happen.
It's like greatness you're talking about, right? You're saying, so
just be great.
Just be great.
Or be around the great ones. At least know them. If you cannot be great on your own
Surround
in a flash.
yourself with people
Surround
who
yourself
will
with greatness, obviously.
restrict you only
And
to your
one
looks.
great benefit of that is when you're surrounded by greatness, then littleness, pettiness is afraid of coming to you, because there is that Lakshman Rekha around you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I am there. Oh, such a great one, 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 such a great one. Now there is this kavach, this orbit, this protective circle around me. So pettiness would be wary of approaching me.
It's an aura that you...
It's an aura that you carry. It's a protective line around you.
Yeah.
So do you see that? Practically, do you see that? I'm not just being rhetorical.
No, we
Practically, do you see that? Huh?
That's actually like one of the things that now if I'm talking to someone and they're saying something, I say, just get really good at something. That could be anything. But if you look at musicians, someone pulls out a guitar, doesn't matter how they look, there is people drawn.
There's people drawn towards you. No, all that is very flimsy kind of appreciation of greatness. You think somebody, just by the dint of playing the guitar, becomes somebody. He doesn't. Huh?
But it's a good place to start.
It's a fine place to start. But then when you look at how Beethoven or Mozart looked, you come to the truth of it. Huh? So appreciate this. Not only it is that pettiness finds it scary to come to you when you're surrounded by greatness, something else also happens. Here I am with this one. This one happens to be somehow a bad choice. A petty choice, a petty one who is resolved to remain petty. who is not yet not convinced that there is something called freedom, something called highness, something called flying free in the sky. And then I surround myself with greatness.
Okay.
One of the great benefits is this one would quit on his own.
They'll drop
That's
out.
the blessing. They'll drop out.
Won't even try.
You won't even try. In fact, you would be surprised. You would say, why has this fellow left? This fellow has left because he was feeling suffocated. Because greatness suffocates pettiness.
Yeah. Yeah, that's something people say that you're an average of the people
five
around
people
you.
just surround yourself.
That is, would you say that's accurate?
Broadly, that makes sense.
Yeah.
But something very different is also possible. A doctor is surrounded by patients all the time. That does not mean that the doctor is the average of the patients around him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what you're saying is broadly all right, but there are great exceptions to that.
Right.
Yeah. I think that what they're trying to say is like your core circle of friends that you spend the most time with.
In the phase when you are open to being influenced,
Yeah.
then surround yourself with the right people. But then there also comes a time when you are no more getting influenced, instead you are out to disseminate greatness. Then you would rather deliberately want to surround yourself with those who are not yet great but can potentially be great.
Yeah.
And then the kind of theorem or axiom you came up with doesn't apply. Then.
It's a bit of an investment. Like Kunal Kamra, he's come on the podcast a couple of times, and I think the first time he came, we speak a lot even outside of this. He said the only thing that I invest in is people. He's like, I find people who have potential and I invest, and I just like having them around me. And that's something that stayed with me after that.
6 years back, when the number of books that I have published was yet quite small, I wasn't very publicly well known. 6 years back, so all of a sudden I get a call from Kunal. Not on my number. My number is not public. Somebody's number. And I was not well known. And he was the first public figure to approach me. Because that's what he does. In his own eyes, whenever he comes across someone who is significant, he makes it a point to approach that person. Many people think that it's a well thought out friendship or collaboration, because I have been with Kunal on shows and interviews and podcasts like so many times now, more than 6-7 times.
Yeah.
So people think that maybe somebody has thought it out. Nobody ever thought it out. All of a sudden, 2018 or 19, that was a summer day, somebody from the organization gets a call and comes to me and says, Kunal Kamra is called. I didn't even know who Kunal Kamra is. Just heard his name. Yes, a rebellious figure in the stand-up circuit. And
yeah, we have an identical story. Like, he was the first public figure to like come on the podcast and give it a chance. And also for him, he was like, I saw it. I thought it would be fun. And now we've stayed friends since then.
That's a part of his rebelliousness.
Yeah.
He doesn't wait for a name to get big.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen that so many times.
He has that sense for putting his finger on people, whether or not they are yet publicly acclaimed.
Yeah.
It also takes a lot to drop your ego when you're at that level.
Obviously. He was at his peak at that time, 18, 19 something.
Yeah.
He was at his peak.
Yes, definitely.
Yes.
And I mean, for us personally, it encouraged us a lot to keep going.
Yeah.
We're like, oh, we've gotten this validation and this person sees some value in what we're doing, then it must be something.
Yes. Contrary to his public persona, he's very humble.
Yeah, very true.
When he comes to Mumbai, we go out. And like for him, we are like these 4 kids who he just like sits and observes. And it's just sometimes he's just looking at us have fun, and then
sometimes he'll add to the conversation. Then sometimes he'll just roast us because we're having the most stupid conversation.
yeah, it's a very interesting friendship that we have.
Yeah.
But it's good, like, to have people like that you can also look up to a bit, and for people our age, it does a lot, I think.
Yes, it does.
I think comes back to what you said, by surround yourself with greatness.
Yes. And if you cannot get to be with them in person, books. And in this age, the videos.
Yeah, that's true, because I think people our age or younger, they're always looking for an older brother. In India especially. Bada bhai chahiye sabko. So they will either watch this, or they'll watch Kunal, or they'll watch you.
Right. But watching is a good step. It's a good first step, but is often not sufficient. How will you watch someone who existed in the previous century?
Yeah.
How will you watch someone who existed in the Renaissance period in Europe?
Yeah, you will have to read.
Yeah. So books are indispensable. You must be a good reader. Or you can have audiobooks.
Yeah.
If technology is what you relish.
Audiobooks, you have to find the correct versions, because a lot of them are AI, which doesn't really...
Yes.
A lot of authors read their own books. I think if you can find those... That's
Getting
it.
Shakespeare to read it.
I don't think that'll be there. But
Shakespeare AI, who's reading it out to you.
See, a good book changes you thoroughly.
True.
It beats the crap out of you. And you're mesmerized. I mean, have there been people who could go to this extent, think this way, come up with this? And then you just rise. You are liberated from the compulsion of your surroundings. Otherwise, you think, this fellow is with me. So this means the world is like this. The 5 people around me, because they are a particular way, therefore the inference that you draw is that maybe the particular entire world is like this.
yeah.
Books give you the kind of exposure that not even travel can give.
Yeah, you can travel just sitting in one place.
In one place, and you go to France. France is a big country, and you are sitting in one particular city or a village or gone to 4 places. That's not France. That's not. It's like coming to Mumbai and thinking that you know India.
Have you had a book like that which transformed you or changed you? Is there
So many of them. Yesterday, Rodrigo too asked the same question. I said they have all gone into this big melting pot, have become one. So
it's one book now.
It's one book now. It's one big book now, and it becomes so difficult for me to put my finger on any one of them. Though, in my talks, spontaneously I keep on naming authors and books. But if I have to consciously recall, it becomes difficult.
What genre of books are these?
Everything.
Everything?
At the beginning, I said I grew in a very wild way.
Yeah.
All directions. So I read stuff of all conceivable qualities, all directions. So when politics, sports, history, right wing, left wing, Indian literature, Western literature, Chinese, Japanese literature, Russian literature, Maxim Gorky, you name.
Did that not make you form a bias towards one side, or were you always very neutral whenever
They
you
were
were
temporal
consuming?
biases.
Okay.
So when you are reading for 6 months something from one direction, then you lean towards that.
Yeah.
But soon you read something else, and that is neutralized.
Yeah.
So because I read everything from everywhere, everything got neutralized. Nothing remained.
It's just the knowledge that stayed back.
Yeah.
Not even the knowledge. I mean, the true function of a book is to destroy your existing knowledge, not to
Okay.
give you more knowledge. You see, we are all biased and conditioned beings, no? The function of the book is not to deepen your conditioning, but to rid you of your pre-existing conditioning. So that's why what a good book leaves you with, ultimately, is not ideas, but a vacuum. Maybe initially there would be new ideas, but very soon even those ideas are going to evaporate. You would be left with a clean, neat, empty space.
Yeah.
And that's a lot of relaxation. That's the contribution of the book. It leaves you free.
It gets a bit overwhelming for someone who doesn't have the habit of reading to even start.
Short stories,
Yeah.
books of axioms, anecdotes, truisms. No?
Just get into the habit
Just get into the habit. You don't have to read big novels. No. Start with short stories. Why not short stories?
I feel even if you read something like a short story, the minute you complete it, you feel a sense of achievement, and that will make you want to go on to the next.
Yes.
It's like completing small
And
tasks
if someone cannot
first.
read even short stories, I would say read excerpts.
Yeah.
2 pages, 3 pages of excerpts from something magnificent. And maybe that will impel you to go to the short story. And once you have gone through 10, 20 short stories, maybe you'll feel like going to that person's novel, that magnum opus, the best work he has come up with. But if you want to start with a 800-page novel, that would be quite deterring. You won't proceed.
Yeah.
Because it's a mountain, you're like, I can't climb this.
And also give yourself some kind of deadline. Like buy a small book, 60 pages, 80 pages, 150 pages. 150 pages, 15 stories. And just tell yourself 2 weeks. 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And you are not obliged to read everything there.
Yeah.
If there are 15 stories, and if there are 4 you started off with and found interesting, read just those 4 and then get on to the other one, next book.
Yeah. No, I think that is important, and as I'm growing up, I'm seeing the need. Also, it's because at some point you have to keep your phone aside, and
Phone gives you a lot of exposure in a limited area.
Yeah.
In a limited area. The trouble with that is that you start thinking that that limited area is the entire universe. And that's a huge problem. Huge problem.
Yeah. Also, it's like with your phone, you're not choosing the information. That's
Yes. Somebody else is
Everything
doing
is
it for you.
coming,
Yeah.
And that somebody else has his own interests to serve.
Yeah. That is a very common thing now, where you look at opinions on the internet and you just assume that a lot of people believe this. Whereas there is statistics that show 97% of the arguments on the internet are started by 3% of the users.
Very right. What we think of as mainstream is actually very
really
fringe, very marginal. But just because you find something being supported by even 10,000 people, it appears as if there is a whole mass behind it. There isn't. It's quite possible that the opinion being presented there is backed by just 2% of the population. But that 2% has aggregated there. So it appears like 2 million views. And 2 million views appears huge. So you think, this person or this opinion is very popular. No, it is not. It is not. It's not a referendum. It's not a plebiscite. There's no way it is representative.
I think people have stopped having original thoughts, like, because most of it is just fed to them, and they're just used to seeing stuff now. On Instagram.
Yes. I'll come back to that thing again. Books. Books. And a diversity of books. From all places, all languages as well. Don't confine yourself to just English.
No, I mean, for me personally, when I read a book, the thing that excites me the most is that I get to talk about it after, bring it up in a conversation, because I've learned something and it's nice to share.
If you can do that in your podcast, you would be doing a service to everybody. Read a good book or just a good story, and then have an entire discussion
about
around that story. Around that story cannot be the center. The discussion can go anywhere with the story at the center. It's a beautiful thing to do.
I wanted to talk to you about, now that we're talking about books, the Bhagavad Gita. I have zero exposure to it. I haven't even, I think, seen a physical copy in my life. And after going through your work, I'm convinced to, like, I think you have to give it a chance. And
Are we carrying a copy? I have a. It will be my pleasure to initiate you with my Bhagavad Gita notes.
I mean, with books like that, I always thought that they will come into your life when they have to. It's not something that if you're seeking it, that means it's already come in your life.
Yes.
So now with that, how do you go about that? Like, do you just pick it up and start?
You need to be free with the author. You need to have the honesty to say Krishna, the author. You need to be able to talk to him. You're not going to something that somebody wants to say. You're a living being, you have a life, and your life has certain problems, certain issues. You want to sort things out, and therefore you are going to him. Therefore, there must be a conversation.
Yeah.
I've been teaching Bhagavad Gita since the last 15 years. And by the time I was 15 years of age, I had already read it many times. And I had never read it cover to cover, end to end. I had a very unique relationship with Krishna. There were times I was scolded at home because it is a religiously respected book.
Yeah.
And it indeed is a respectable book. I would be sleeping with a copy of the Bhagavad Gita open on my chest. Another copy by another school, another author lying by my side, this side. Another copy lying that side. Because I was reading one particular verse. I knew a bit of Sanskrit. My father was quite thorough in Sanskrit, and I too have some kind of command over it. So I would read the verse, and I would read what one particular interpreter has to say. Then what other one says, then what other one says. And I already had my own mind as well about it. And then I would struggle. I would not move on. It's easy to just hop on to the next shlok saying there are 700 verses. How much time can you spend on one particular verse? I would struggle with verses for days altogether. Imagine, as a 12-year-old or as a 16-year-old, you're struggling with a verse because to me things have to have a certain integrity.
Right.
Books are like persons. You cannot be one thing here and one thing there.
Yeah.
I cannot have one face in front of you and another face out there. Similarly, what Sri Krishna is saying cannot be one thing in chapter 2 and another thing in chapter 12. For me, that kind of reconciliation is very important. The same thing has to be said here in one word, in one context, and there in other words in another context. And so I was grappling with it. And that's what has enabled me to come so close to the author, that now I can see where he is coming from, why a particular word has been chosen. And the more I see it, the more awe I experience.
Right.
The more I feel like submitting to the author. What a wonderful work. And if you cannot put that condition that the book ought to have integrity, then the interpretation you will come up with will be very fractured and faulty.
Yeah.
You'll be looking at one side of what is being said without realizing where it is really coming from. Are you getting it?
Yeah.
So don't go to it with a load of reverence. Go to the Gita as one goes to an elder brother.
Yeah.
You have respect, but you are also friendly. And go to the book asking, this is my life. I belong to the 21st century. I live in a metro. I'm a global citizen. I speak English. Now tell me, of what use is this document to me? And then the document will speak to you.
He'll answer. Okay.
Then it will have a contemporary relevance. Then you will say, no, this is not an old book. This is the newest book possible. This speaks directly to me. It is about my life today as it is.
So you're constantly looking for how to apply. Like you're looking for...
I'm looking for reality. I'm not looking for a token appreciation. I'm not going there as one goes to a statue to, just fold your hands and bow your head. That's not my purpose. I'm not going to just carry the Gita on my head and say, I respect the Gita. I want to understand. And I think that's true respect. If you don't understand what Krishna is saying, how can you be respectful to him? To be truly respectful, you have to understand. And my stubbornness was that I said, I will not go to the next verse till I understand this one. So many times I would say, no, this doesn't make sense. And I was prepared to say that probably even Krishna is at fault here. I was prepared to go to that extent. Later on, I would understand, no, this does make sense. This does make sense if you interpret it this way. So you need to have that open and honest interaction, argumentation, conversation to and fro with the Gita and with any other book, you see.
Yeah.
If you are going with too much respect, that becomes a bias. That becomes a barrier to understanding. You must be able to ask very direct questions. You must not say, no, the book is at the philosophical level, so I must ask only philosophical questions. Have you been talking philosophy to me all this while?
No.
I'm taken to be a philosopher. But here we are, and we are talking girls. We are talking breakups.
Yeah.
Yeah. We are. So that's how you should be able to talk to anybody. And then you will know the reality of that work or that person.
Yeah.
And when reality is known, then greatness shines. Only then the real heft, the real power of that work reveals itself to you. And then you will have true respect. Otherwise, it's artificial respect. Most people only have very flimsy, superficial, made-up kind of respect for the Gita or for other known works or religious works.
Yeah.
No, just because this work, this is by this author. Yes, truly wonderful, truly wonderful. Why are you saying truly wonderful? Has that helped you? Do you even understand it fully? If it has neither helped you, nor do you understand it, why are you unnecessarily praising it?
Yeah, it's a bias.
It's a bias and it's a fraud, is it not?
Yeah.
It's a fraud towards yourself.
Yeah.
So when you're with the Gita, avoid all these frauds.
Yeah, I think with the Gita, it's because it's attached to religion. People have that, like, what you call respect, what you're saying, they have this flimsy respect. That's like by default, it's there. And it's also, it intimidates a lot of people my age to even go near it.
Even go near. Wonderful. Because your generation does not like a godly figure asserting his authority over you. You know, like a grandfather
Yeah.
whom you have to necessarily listen to.
Yeah.
So the dangerous result of that will be that your generation and the subsequent one, you call that Gen Alpha, right?
Gen Z.
Gen Z is you.
No. We're millennials.
You are
Alpha is
millennials.
Alpha is next.
Yeah.
Alpha
We
is
are
next,
Gen Z,
right?
bro.
No.
Gen-
We are Gen-
97 onwards is Gen Z. We are just...
We are like in the...
I mean,
Who am I?
Yeah.
No, we are like 98 born, so that is...
I'm 78 born.
we're
What would
right
that
on
be?
the cusp.
I think you're...
Either X or boomer.
Yeah, it's either
Okay.
baby boomers or Gen
No,
X.
baby boomer, no, refuse that.
No, for us, it's like we're Gen Z with a very millennial upbringing because we've
Very
grown up in
millennial
India.
upbringing. Yes.
So
yes.
for us, while everything else was happening in the world, we were
Right,
still in the 90s.
right.
Yeah.
So when I look at kids who are 5 or 7 now,
Yeah.
and I see how disdainful towards authority they are,
Yeah. Yeah.
it will be very difficult for a religious work to appeal to them. Because religion invariably comes with authority. Therefore, I always say, keep the authority aside. Go to that work or to that person. As a friend, if not as a friend, then as one goes to an elder brother.
Yeah.
Or to a friend who is 4 years elder to you,
Yeah.
maximum. And then talk openly, talk with honesty.
Yeah.
If you go to the Gita, why can't you talk of something very mortal, very mundane, very ordinary? And if the Gita cannot help you with your ordinary problems, how will the Gita help you? Because all you have is an ordinary life with ordinary problems.
Yeah.
Correct.
Right? So you should be able to have that open conversation. And when you have that open conversation, a very new Gita opens up. You see a face of Krishna that is not traditional, yet very, very functional, very helpful. And that's what you know. That's what you want.
Do you feel if you read it at different times in your life, your answers will change?
Yes. Obviously. And that's the beauty of all good works.
Okay.
They have layers of meanings.
Like, I know it's probably impossible to like go through it, but what can you tell us about it? Like,
About the Gita?
Yeah.
Pure honesty.
Pure honesty.
Pure honesty. I mean, honesty of the kind you can't even imagine. Fearlessness of the kind one hasn't ever come across. It demolishes not just tradition, but also what you harbor in the name of modernity. It is more liberative than any kind of liberalism. More open than the most open relationship you can have.
You say this word fearless and fearlessness a
Courage.
lot. Courage.
Yeah.
Is that you think is the absolute way?
Yes, I think
living
fear
life?
is very close to being the central disease that we have. Very close. I could say ego is the central disease, but that becomes abstract, right? You don't experience ego as such, but all the time you experience inhibition, nervousness, fear. Therefore, it is all right if I say that fear is close to being the central disease that each one of us have.
Right.
And I do not like fear at all, especially on a young face. That in fact makes me angry. And that doesn't work out. Because when you get angry in front of a fearful person, he gets all the more fearful.
Yeah. That's like doubling down.
So I'm learning how to cope with that, but let's see.
But what are we scared of? Is it just scared of accepting who we are?
See, we are scared. We are in fact justifiably scared. We are scared because we have based our entire existence on things we are not in control of. Who am I? Let me define my existence. Let me look at this cup. What does it say? Untriggered. Huh?
Yeah.
I am the owner of this thing. I am the owner of Untriggered. My entire identity is not dependent on this mug. This says Untriggered here.
Yeah.
Who am I? I ought to be somebody, right? I exist. So I'm somebody. Who am I? I am the owner of Untriggered. This is just a cup. I can drop it. It can get dropped. Somebody else can drop it. There can be an earthquake. It gets broken. Not only is the mug shattered, my entire identity is shattered. That's what happens when you depend on something for the very core of your being. That's why we are afraid. We are too dependent on stuff. And we think that is love. We think that is care. We think that is this, that, whatever. Wherever you would lean upon something or someone, for your very sense of self, there would be fear.
So that could be money, that could
be money, that could be religion, that could be looks.
Yeah, your physical aspects.
That could be anything. Knowledge. Not physical. Knowledge. I'm the knowledgeable one. And knowledge depends on memory. And there could be somebody far more knowledgeable than you. Because there is no upper limit.
Yeah.
And you're shattered. That's why we are so afraid. Whenever you are dependent, there would be fear. And there is no need to be dependent. Just try it out. The thing is, we are so afraid we don't even try out. And then there is a loop. Because you don't try out, you are afraid. And because you are afraid, you don't try out.
Yeah. It's that cycle of... Yeah.
It's a vicious cycle.
I say, please experiment.
Yeah.
See whether the world can harm you to the extent you think. Nobody can harm you beyond a point. And it's only when you expose yourself to deliberate harm that you realize that they cannot harm you beyond a point. That even if they do their utmost to harm you, the core thing within you would still be all right, untouched, undefeated. It is possible. I'm not just lecturing or something. I mean, I'm trying to demonstrate it through my life.
No, I can tell that you're very passionate about this. Like when it comes out.
Yeah.
But where does one person start? Like now you're
Experiment.
But does that mean in all walks of life?
All walks of life, without any exceptions. And that's where the Gita comes in. It does not draw the line anywhere. He says, if this is right, it is right. And for the right, even if you have to fight your own kith and kin, do that. Do that.
Like if that's
Look at the kind of attachment Arjun is being told to fight.
Yeah, his own family.
His own family.
Yeah.
Come on. Your own family.
Yeah.
And you're not to stop anywhere.
Yeah.
Just, if it is right, do it. So, beyond imagination.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's one thing that's helped me in my life is identifying what's right and making sure that it's right, first of all, by knowing enough to be able to say it. Because I might think something is right, which is not.
Right.
But being self-critical enough to make sure that this thing is right, this is what I want to do, and then committing. That.
At the same time, not allowing your perception of rightness to become a dogma. Become a preconceived bias.
Always open to
open to change.
Right. Otherwise, you are entering bigotry.
Right.
You know, what I think is right.
Yeah. Nothing else matters.
So these two things have to be very carefully navigated. On one hand, what I see to be right, I will commit myself to. On the other hand, I'll keep the door to correction always open.
Yeah.
On one hand, I'll commit myself to what I see as right this moment. On the other hand, I'll also keep the door to corrections open.
Yeah.
So these two have to be taken together.
Yeah. Because sometimes what you see isn't
right.
Yes.
The way to do that for me, it's been just constantly test my beliefs.
That word, testing, experimenting, trying it out. That's so important for a young person, is it not? What else is youth for?
Yeah.
Try things out.
Yeah.
Let yourself fail. I mean, fall flat a few times, that's all right.
Yeah.
All the scars that you will get, you have one here that looks beautiful. And how does a well-groomed young face look? You're not a doll, yaar.
Yeah.
That's honestly the only thing that I think makes me a better person on a daily basis is by constantly being self-critical.
Being self-critical and being ruthless. That word is important, and that word is very central to the Gita. Nirmam. Ruthless, without attachment. Nirmam. If I see something as right, I don't draw the line anywhere. I will carry on with it full steam, without any reservations.
You said attachment. So do you mean you should detach yourself from everything?
Gita or wisdom is not moral science.
Okay.
It's not about shoulds. It's not about doing, you should do this versus you should not do this.
Okay.
So Sri Krishna does not directly ask you to be detached. He simply says, when you will see what within you gets attached to this, you will drop the attachment. In fact, you will not even need to drop the attachment. You will find, almost with surprise, that the attachment is gone on its own.
Okay.
You don't have to work on attachment. You have to work on yourself. If you can work on yourself, silently the needless things will vaporize. You won't even come to know. Somebody will come and tell you, sir, you are no more attached. I'm no more attached. I never tried that.
Right.
When you're looking within, when you say you look within, what are you looking at? Are you looking at your daily behavior?
Same thing, yes, obviously.
Which is behavior?
Yes, nothing. Suppose I pick it up and I say, this might get dropped. If a thought flashes, is it really going to get dropped? That tells you that you are identified with it.
Yeah.
What else is there to look within? I mean, CT scan, X-ray, MRI, we are not talking of that. When you look within, you find lust, you find anger, you find fear, you find ignorance, you also find pride and conceit. These are the things that you find within when you look within. And you have to catch them red-handed. You have to see when they are there and acknowledge them and move on. You don't have to do anything about them.
Yeah.
You don't have to proactively take steps. You just have to acknowledge that such a thing does exist. And by the time you acknowledge, already the next movement is in.
Yeah.
Already it's time to acknowledge the next thing.
Right.
The next thing. So that's all. Continuous self-observation.
Can we go back to the part where you said we are not our body? Because
You think it's time now?
yeah, I think because I've been sitting on that.
All right. Any of you keep a pet?
No.
No, but one of our friends does, who has 2 cats.
Has 2 cats.
Yeah.
Do the cats ever radically become uncatly? I mean, does a cat ever behave like it's not a cat, it's a rhinoceros? No.
Sometimes dogs do behave a bit humanly.
A bit human. A bit.
Uh-huh.
African cat, American cat, Indian cat, Pakistani cat. Cats are cats. That's called being a body. Just as a Lenovo laptop in India or in the US or in Brazil or in China remains the same. That's called living by your configuration. You have an Apple thing here, i something. What's the latest one?
iPhone.
i16.
Yeah,
iPhone
16.
16.
So you have the 16 one here. You have the 16 one in Japan. Would they operate differently?
No.
They won't, right? That's called being just your conditioning, your configuration. That's what is called being just your body. Somebody made me this way, or I evolved this way. I evolved this way in the process of natural evolution. And my physical configuration is all that there is to me. Nothing beyond that. Nothing beyond that. So the man in Africa is lustful, the man in India is lustful, the man in America is lustful, because all of them are carrying their sacks. Right?
Yeah.
The man, the woman in America, just using the typical imagery, the woman in America is emotional, the woman in Iran is emotional, the woman in India is emotional, because all of them are carrying the same hormones. That's called being the body. Being the body. Just acting as per your physical configuration. As if you are a factory product like a laptop. As if you are a cat. That's called being the body. And that's the difference between animals and human beings. You look at a cat. A cat is born a cat, lives like a cat, and dies like a cat. There cannot be a massive difference in the life stories of 2 cats. Can there be? You can say, one of them is a pet cat, one is a stray cat, one is a big cat, one is a small cat, one is a sick cat, one is a healthy cat. That's the maximum, the difference that there can be. Right? But there can be no greater difference than that. But if you look at the difference in the life stories of 2 human beings, 2 hands, both of them, 2 legs, both of them, physical configuration exactly the same, both of them, but one of them can be a Buddha and one of them can be just a pervert retard. No? Such a great difference. This kind of difference you cannot find between 2 cats because the 2 cats are just the catly body. But the 2 human beings are not just their body. There can be a great difference. Cat, we said, takes birth as a cat, lives as a cat, dies as a cat. Human being will take birth as a human being, but can live and die as something far more magnificent. And that's what your potential is. You're not born to live a routine life. You're not a cat. You're not a laptop either. Getting it? You're not supposed to live in a configured and conditioned way. You have the power to discover your being and craft your destiny. Something very original, very unique can materialize from your life. That's called living beyond your body. Broadly, just for the sake of introduction. Otherwise, we can speak for hours on it and months on it, and still the topic won't end.
Yeah. That's
Did you get what I'm trying to say?
Because I don't know when we can meet again. That's why everything I can ask.
Yes.
Like,
you see, you're a young man. There is this, because that's the thing of principal interest, so I have to return to that thing again and again. Sex. There is this girl that comes here, and she might be a great scholar, or a great dancer, or a great anything in any particular field. But if you're just the man's body, all you will see is a woman's body.
Right.
Right? And that's so animalistic. That's so beastly. You do not see that she's a great author or a great scientist or a great player or a great something, whatever. All you see is her body. Now that's how dogs behave. And that's how material things behave. That's how iron gets attracted to a magnet piece. Right? The iron doesn't ask for the qualification of the magnet piece. If the magnet is there, the iron is there, the attraction.
Right.
It's so hormonal. It's so physical.
Right.
No, and therefore there is nothing sublime in it.
Yeah.
Would you say it's soulless, like in a way?
Yes. Now you're coming to that thing that we really are.
Yeah.
It's not called soul, but it's something beyond the body.
Okay.
Beyond the body. Technically, it is not really the soul, but yes, at least you're acknowledging that there is something beyond the body.
But what would you define it as, or I don't know how to.
The Gita calls it the self, not the
self.
soul. Self, because that's who you really are. Myself. Yeah, they say myself. Myself. It's called the self. Atma. Atma.
Yeah.
Not that soul kind of Atma that flies around, bhoot pret, tona totka, jadoo chudail, not that.
People equate Atma with soul.
No.
Usually.
Atma is not soul. Atma is self.
Okay.
Atma is self. Soul is a myth. Soul is Maya. Soul is a misconception. Soul is the worst superstition there can be. But did you see this?
Yeah.
That if there is this one here, and you are seeing just her body being your body, the man's body is looking at the woman's body.
It only sees one thing.
There's nothing,
Right.
Is consciousness the word to? Is that like it's in the same realm?
You're seeing that there is something more important in the body, right?
Yeah.
He tried to address it as soul. You are trying to address it as consciousness. Classically, it is called the self.
The self.
The self.
Some people, or me, I would also go on to call that thing God, because I think that's
not very far from the truth. The Gita says the self is the highest.
Oh.
And if God, in your parlance, is another name for the highest, then the self is God.
right.
And what that means is that God is right here. Because self is this.
Yeah.
Me, I'm talking about myself.
Yeah.
And if the self is the highest beyond the body, then God is right here, right in here. But not in the way the movies show it or popular culture carries it.
Yeah.
Not in that way.
Yeah.
No, I mean, to me, it's God. If God is what's supposed to be driving this world, it's what makes the earth spin, it's what's created all of this, then it has to be the thing that is.
You are a young modern man. Creationism has been thrown into the trash basket centuries back.
By definition, I'm saying.
That definition is outmoded. Nobody cares for that definition. Nobody made the world. You very well know nobody made you either. You have evolved from a certain process.
Yeah, but I think the consciousness or the self or whatever we're talking about, that's what's done all of this.
Yes.
That's what I'm getting at.
Not some God up there in the sky.
No, that is
not God,
very
God
unreasonable.
Yes, wonderful. Wonderful.
I mean, as a child, I would believe that, but that's...
Right.
And you need that. I think to some extent, at some point of your life, you need that, because I remember when I believed in God, and I've grown up as a Muslim child. I read the Quran because I went to an Irani school for the first 4 years, and Quran is compulsory. I read all of it. And the things we were taught were like mostly about, in school you're teaching kids. So you're like, don't waste your food, don't lie. All the
God
good,
will get unhappy.
Yeah, God will get unhappy and you won't go to heaven.
Yes. But that's a thing that helps kids at the most.
That's what I'm saying.
But if you grow up and you still maintain those notions, then inwardly you remain a kid.
Yeah.
Right.
Which is not good.
Right.
Which is not good.
There's no growth only.
There is no growth.
I'm not at that point, the idea of not getting entry into heaven was like
Big.
Very big. I was scared.
You know what? Most of what you call as religion or spirituality, even today, be it Islam, Hinduism, Christianity, anywhere, is driven just by fear.
And that's not.
You're asking me, why the word fear is so important. People are so afraid of hell. you have dozakh, you have nark, you have hell, and you have similar places in other cultures as well. You do bad things here and you go to a bad place there. Huh? And what kind of spirituality is this that is based on fear? Come on, it robs one of dignity, does it not?
Yeah.
I want something more loving. I want something more illuminated. And that's when the wisdom literature of the world comes in. You go to the Sufis, for example, and you look at their conception of the highest, and that's strikingly at odds with the popular conception. And that's why the right-wing hardliners do not like Sufis. You see what happened to them in Afghanistan and Pakistan and these places. You know, the hardliners, the right-wingers, they just destroyed all the Sufi places. And they bombed them and does all those things. So it's a thing of great power, great glory. The highest potential is within me. Maybe it's so high that I'll never realize it. But my job is to at least keep trying and keep moving towards it.
Yeah.
That's such a great purpose of life, is it not?
Yeah.
The highest is extremely lovable. So lovable and so high. Maybe I'll never be able to stretch my arms and touch it. But I can at least try. And the trying, the striving is worth it. Yeah. Even if I don't succeed, and I'm probably never going to succeed, because nobody can ever reach infinity by definition. Probably I'm never going to succeed. But a life just spent trying is worth it.
Yeah. The logic within me when it comes to all of that stuff is, I don't know if a heaven is promised. Right? I'm not sure. There is no evidence for me to refer to.
Yes.
But I know the life that I have here is promised, and I'm here. And if I play my cards right and make the right decision, to have heaven in my life is very possible. Because what is your definition of heaven? Happiness, peace, prosperity, good food, good money, good people around you. How is that not unachievable?
Wonderful. Like, very well said. Very well said. Very well said. Yeah. And you know what you're just saying? Some people will say, oh, this fellow is acting atheistic.
Yeah.
The knowers will say, this is real spirituality. This is not atheism. This is real spirituality.
Yeah.
Also, a very reasonable question. You go to any person who is suffering. Is that person suffering because of not being in heaven? Your real problems are very earthly.
Yeah.
He is suffering because he has had a breakup. I keep coming back to that again and again.
Yeah.
I mean, it's all in my mind.
We've corrupted you, I think. The people hang out with us for 1 hour.
And this is what happens.
I remember the thumbnail you gave to the Prakhar video. And see, he's still laughing. Every time I look at that, I've looked at it only once. And since then it has gotten to me. I think of it and I laugh. Again, प्रखर और फिर वही सेक्स सुक्स की बातें and the face that you have shown there hilarious absolutely hilarious. Anyway, so he is suffering of a breakup, we know that, right? He is suffering because he wants more money. You are suffering because you want more recognition. I am suffering because of some health issue. He is suffering for some reason. His kids don't listen to him, let's say. Which of us is suffering for lack of heaven? Nobody.
Yeah.
Our real problems are here.
I would go on to say that all of us are in hell.
Are in hell. So let's rather talk of hell.
Yeah.
This is hell. Let's rather talk of hell. Let's try to understand what hell is and how we reached here in the first place.
Yeah.
Rather than talking of some distant place, talk of the place where you are. You know, if you are, for example, caged, incarcerated in a cell, in a jail. Would you talk of the open sky, or would you rather investigate how to get out?
Investigate, I guess.
You'd rather investigate the cell itself, right?
Yeah.
Okay. How strong are these pillars here? What are these rods made of?
Yeah.
When do the sentries do their round?
Analyze environment.
Your real life as it is here and now.
Yeah.
No, that's what spirituality is about. It's not about hankering for heaven.
Right.
Yeah, that is, and you see so many people live in hell just because you're not burning by hellfire.
In the fires,
whatever you've heard.
We are burning as well, are we not? Just that the flames are not visible.
Yeah, it's
but
inside.
the smoke is within.
Yeah.
Is it not?
Yeah.
We are burning here and see how we inhale and exhale. All that is the smoke.
Yeah.
Sometimes we literally inhale, exhale smoke.
Yeah.
So
you're burning your insides.
You're burning your insides. We are de facto living in hell.
Yeah.
So real spirituality is about inquiring into your life as it is right now, this moment.
Right.
So we said continuous self-observation.
Yeah.
Is it getting heavy? Yeah, probably it is, but fine.
No, but
This is a very good conversation.
fun.
I feel, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, even the term spirituality now, it's just like if you bring it up in a conversation, if we were sitting with a bunch of other people, we were like, oh, let's talk about. You see the reaction you get. Like it's almost disgust.
faces.
Yes.
Like,
And I can understand where that reaction is coming from. Spirituality has been so much distorted
Yeah.
that even I would not like to talk of it to someone who is the traditional kind of spiritualist.
Yeah.
They are so boring and they talk such crap and they are so dogmatic and they can get very easily offended and therefore violent.
Because their beliefs are fickle.
Their beliefs are fickle. They know their beliefs are fickle and fragile.
But they don't want to accept
They
it.
don't want to accept it, so they get offended. When they get offended, they'll want to hurt you.
Yeah.
Doesn't that go against the very principle
Obviously,
of spiritualism?
obviously,
Because
obviously.
if the whole point is to continuously keep evolving, if you've made an opinion and you're sitting on it, तूने घर बसाया है वो opinion के साथ, और कोई आके बोल रहा है कि you know this is actually and
But it shatters their entire core
so then
of
you're
their...
not spiritual
Yeah,
because you're not.
The way this is coming up, this
Yeah.
is real spirituality.
Yeah.
You know, this is the way probably all the great bodies of knowledge came up. This is also the way probably all the great religious works came up. You know, through open-minded discussion or through fearless meditation. You know, not through dogmatic and traditional belief system. Spirituality, if it becomes a system of beliefs, I believe in my story, you believe in your story, and because two stories can never be the same, therefore we will fight.
Yeah.
It's just nonsense.
How do you define meditation?
This is meditation. If at this moment or for this hour, you have been able to be present here, you have been meditating. If for the previous 1 hour you have not been thinking of your bills or the time or how the world is or the next soccer game or the cricket score, if you have not been thinking of all these things, you have been meditating.
Right.
Being fully present in the moment.
Yes, you could say that. Assuming that what is happening in the moment is worth it. If you are fully present to crap, that's not meditation.
Yeah.
If you're fully focused on taking a crap, are you meditating then?
No, not even then.
It's not worth your.
Choosing the right thing to do
Yeah.
and then allowing yourself to be immersed in it.
Yeah.
That's meditation.
Yeah.
Does there need to be a purpose of self-improvement for it to qualify as meditation?
Self-improvement happens. When you watch yourself, you cannot have the objective of self-improvement.
Yeah.
Otherwise, the watching will become biased.
Yeah.
You watch without any purpose. Strangely, from that purposelessness, self-improvement happens automatically on its own. Otherwise, you see, if you watch for the purpose of improving yourself, then you have defined improvement in advance, have you not?
Right.
How do you know what improvement means? What is your definition of improvement?
Right.
When self-improvement happens on its own, then it happens in ways you could not have pre-decided. But if you say, I want to improve myself, and therefore I'm doing this, then you already have some preconceived notion of an improved self. No?
Unless it's a specific skill.
Unless it's specific, or something like weight loss.
Yeah.
Or something like weight loss.
That you can define well.
That you can define well. So it has to be something very gross. Then you can have a target in advance. But when you are talking of your internal self, then you should not have definitions in advance.
Right.
No? Then you should simply say, I am watching myself, and out of this watchfulness, something will happen. I am prepared, I am ready. Whatever happens, I'll accept it. I just need to be honest.
Yeah.
And I need to be fearless.
Yeah.
Because what will happen can sometimes be beyond your expectations, and therefore it can be a bit scary.
it can get overwhelming.
It can get overwhelming. And because it defies your expectations, therefore you may want to resist it. I'm not going to resist it. And that is called surrender. That is called surrender in spirituality.
Yeah. I think one of the most important moments or phases in someone's life is when they realize that I don't know if good enough is the good way to describe it. If I were to speak personally, at some point in my life, I realized that there's very limited things that I'm good at, and I feel like if I continue like this, I will not be a valuable member of society, if that's a way to describe. I will not be able to contribute to anything, and a loser is what we call it. If I continue going like this, because the way I'm living life is, I'll end up as a loser. I won't get anywhere. And I think that's like a shift that I felt in myself, and that caused me to be more self-critical, look within, constantly observe the smallest things that I'm doing and think if it could be done better, what purpose is this serving? And I think once you have that realization, that's when you become open to this.
Yes, that's true. So, on one hand, yes, when you want to be of use to the wider society, that can be a motivation to improve yourself. But also remember something a little beyond this. A point may come when you find that it is because of your improvement that you are not getting social appreciation.
Yeah.
Society appreciates a very narrow band. If you are here, you won't be appreciated because you are below the society. Also, if you are here, you would again not be appreciated because you are beyond the society.
Yeah.
So maybe you started from here. Maybe you have entered this place where you are gaining social respect. But if you continue to improve, very soon you will find that you are beginning to get social resistance. And when you get social resistance, do not be afraid. Continue improving.
Yeah. I think I used the wrong words to describe it when I said valuable member of society. I meant more like the people around me that I care about and love. I wanted to be able to make a difference there first.
Yes.
And eventually after that,
Lovely.
people who are open to being helped, or people who need the help and are open to accepting it, that's what you can help. Because you can't, like you said, you can't help people who don't want to be helped.
Right. But the same thing applies there also. It's one of the beautiful and rather beautiful yet painful ironies of life. This band applies not only to the wider society, but also to your friends and family and loved ones. If you continue to improve, you may find very, very surprisingly, shockingly, that you are getting resistance even from them. When that happens, accept that with humility. Say, you resist me right now, you don't like me right now, but believe me, I am going to be of help. I'm going to be of help. And just to please you, I'm not going to slip back. I'll continue my upward ascension. I'll continue, and I want you to rise with me. They won't want to rise, at least initially. And then there would be struggle. Then there would be a tug of war. Right? Be ready for that. That's what you are born for, no?
Courage again.
Courage, yes. We all should have taste for a certain kind of battle. So that's fine.
Greatness.
Yeah.
Like, strive towards
Greatness is too big a word. Sometimes, greatness, it feels, it pumps up the ego. Greatness.
Yeah.
Greatness is something very natural, no? Not being great is unnatural. You're born to be great. An eagle takes a great flight. What's great about it? Nothing. You are eagles. You are born to take great flights. There's nothing great about that great flight. It's only natural. What's unnatural is if you find an eagle crawling on the floor.
Yeah.
We are living unnatural lives.
I think the whole point is that everything around us scares us so much that we forget that we are supposed to be great by default. Like
we have it in us.
You're
like, we forget
conditioned to
it.
not be great, rather. Is
Wonderful.
what
Yeah. Very, very well
also
said.
another thing is that you can live life not being great.
Very well said. That's the practical part of it. Nobody will object if you are living a life that has not a
Mediocre.
shred of greatness in it. Nobody will object. People will say, he's just a common fellow, regular fellow.
Yeah.
He's living here, he's one of us.
Yeah.
He's living here, or he's living here, he's one of us.
Yeah.
He's living here. In fact, people object when you are
Above.
You know the concept of NPCs? NPC stands for like a non-playable character. It's a video game term.
Okay.
So there are a lot of games where you're the main character, you're living life, and there's a lot of like random bots within the game which contribute nothing to the story, but if for the sense of realism, you need like people walking on the street.
Okay.
And they don't have anything to contribute.
Okay.
If you go near them, they have like 2-3 lines that they're fed.
Okay. Almost like extras in a movie scene?
Yes.
Correct.
Okay.
Exactly like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so that's what an NPC is. And now that's translated into the real world. Where you're like, oh, this guy's an NPC.
Right.
That's what is like mediocrity when
Got
you're
it,
way below
got
the
it,
band
got
that you
it, got
mentioned.
You come
You
to the
are not
world.
born to be NPCs, right?
Yeah.
No one. Yes.
Right,
That's well said.
You're supposed to be the main character.
Right.
Yeah.
NPCs in the language of economics would be NPAs, non-performing assets.
Yeah.
So you're not want to be that or have that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because that's so many people who just come into the world and
Your
leave
real
also.
family should be of the ones who have mattered. Human civilization is still not very old. The literature available to us is maximum 3,000 years of old. Maximum 300 to 400 books, 500 books, 1,000 at the utmost stretch. If you can read even 100 or 200 of those books, you will realize what human life is for.
Yeah.
And I repeat, there is no particular strict list. Those books, those people, those characters, their struggles, their inquiries, they come from all sides, all ages, all schools, all thoughts. And then you see what potential you have versus the level of your real life. And then you also ask, how can I even call this as real? Is this real at all? If that is what is possible, how do I call this as real? We are like, jumbo jets or fighter planes forever parked on the ground.
Yeah. What do you do for fun?
This.
Yeah, I assumed you would say this because now that we sat here for it's been 2 hours.
Yeah.
2 hours,
2.5
20 minutes,
hours.
and it's like,
Yeah.
if I had the option, I won't say, if I had the privilege of doing this like more often, I would pick this over many things that I think I do for fun right now.
Right. All the definitions change. Fun, happiness, sadness, tiredness, relaxation. All your definitions take a new center. And from that new center, you find your entire new vocabulary, a dictionary is being written.
The minute you let go of all your fear.
But even the things that you would traditionally do for fun become more fun when you are...
They reveal a new meaning. I do almost all the traditional things. Whatever people do for fun, probably I too do all those things. Watch a movie, yes. Play a certain sport, yes. Yesterday night I played tennis, yes. Obviously, probably there is a new meaning there. Probably on a normal day, I would afford to skip my tennis, but not on a day when I have pain. There is a new meaning then.
Yeah.
To every shot, then there is a new meaning.
Yeah.
When the ball hits your racket and it's almost like it has hit your heart. a wave of pain runs through your body.
Yeah.
That's when the game takes on a new meaning. So you do all the same old things, but the center changes.
Right. So many people try to manipulate this by doing substances. I just realized that they want to skip this whole phase of like inward thinking and introspection, and they want to reap the rewards that you get at the end of it. And I think drugs is the easiest way to get there.
I would actually support them if they could remain inebriated forever. Is it possible to maintain that high?
Physically, it's impossible.
It's impossible. So what's the point then?
Yeah, you'll have to keep doing it.
You will not just return. You will fall back with a thud. You are taken to a certain psychedelic high, and what happens the next morning? You're back to the same old life with a headache.
Yeah.
And with a growing addiction. Next time you want it sooner.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
The frequency increases.
Yeah.
Your dependency increases.
Your dependency increases. And it's not as if every successive episode of taking substances leaves you a bit elevated. It in fact leaves you more and more depressed. So it's foolish then. Very foolish.
You wouldn't say that it's okay to experiment when it comes to this to some extent?
You already know it's a chemical. It's a chemical. It's a chemical just like sodium chloride or potassium cyanide. You don't experiment with chemicals, sir. You know in advance what effect they will have.
What about the naturally occurring ones?
That's also a chemical.
That's a chemical.
I mean,
it's a chemical reaction that will take place.
But that too is a chemical. It's a chemical. The thing with chemical is that their result is predictable and known in advance, tested in advance. You very well know that this particular chemical, the effect it will have on his body, like a shot, a COVID shot. It's a chemical. The effect it will have on his body, more or less, it will have the same effect on your body, and that's why we can have vaccines. Right? You don't try out these things. You just read off these things and say, oh, there's the chemical, this is the effect that it have, and this effect is not something I want to have. So finished.
But when it comes to, let's say, a psychedelic drug, you know what the effect of it chemically is going to be, but the person who's doing it, for them, their trip, as to say, differs from each person to each person. And a lot of people have done it and they say, oh, I've seen these things.
All right, for argument's sake, I say he goes on that trip, he takes that trip, he experiences, whatever. You have done it once? You have done? No, I'm saying.
No,
done it once?
Do it once and then...
Done it once. Now you have seen what it has to give you.
Yeah.
Finish it off. Fine. The experiment is over.
Right.
The experiment is over.
Don't keep going back to it.
Especially when you see that the experiment is futile.
Yeah.
Had the experiment succeeded, there would have been some logic in returning the experiment.
Right.
Have you had any experience with ayahuasca or...
I don't even know the name of this thing. No.
No?
But being in college, from a hostel life, the normal things, a cigarette or a beer, obviously I know of them. But not the modern day things like whatever it was, ayahuasca.
No, that's like a...
Ayahuasca is like more of a...
It's a plant-based drug which
like you have to go
a higher
to
state.
South America in the jungle.
There's a Sherpa who does a ritual.
And it's a
shaman, sorry.
Elaborate thing.
Yeah.
Which is, when people talk about it, it causes your brain to secrete DMT, which is the...
Come back please to the thing he so forcefully emphasized. I am not the...
Sorry?
The body.
I'm not the body.
What is the brain if not the body?
Yeah.
Again, it goes back to
being the body. Being the body. If you are playing tricks with the brain, you are still again emphasizing that you are the body. What's the point then?
No, essentially, with the drug use, you're tickling your brain a bit to see what happens.
Which is like tickling your body.
Yeah.
Which is like somebody scratching your back.
Right.
It's the brainy equivalent of scratching your back and experiencing a certain pleasure for a while. But what happens if you keep scratching your back, it bleeds.
Yeah.
That's all. You don't get any permanent value addition to your life. In fact, you become addicted. You'll need more and more of it and you'll bleed even more. And after a point, it won't even be pleasurable.
But then you don't know when to
Then
stop.
it gets abusive.
Then it gets abusive.
That's why when I brought up the question, I used the word experiment as to like a lot of people to justify drug use. They say you only live your life once. If there is a possibility of having a psychedelic experience, like you should give it a try.
You
to
see, how do you know how it feels in the nanosecond before you are hit by a truck? Why not experiment with that?
Yeah.
Think of the moment you are standing right in the middle of the road. That truck is coming to you at 60 kmph, right? Think of the split second before it is about to hit you. Think of your mental condition. What a high. What an exemplary moment it is. Why not experience that?
It'll be your last one. That's the only thing.
I mean, so I think that's what the difference is, that drug use is not always so fatal, whereas this...
Plus, one has to have a certain discretion even while experimenting. You cannot experiment without any reason or logic or basis.
Yeah.
You cannot experiment with everything.
Yeah.
I think that's where the argument falls flat. First of all, the way people are experimenting with drugs, it's not in a controlled manner.
Yeah.
Also, it's dishonest. I'll ask you, is it really experimentation? Experimentation carries the spirit of inquiry, not the spirit of addiction. They are saying they are experimenting. I want to dispute that. Are they really experimenting, or are they just helpless addicts?
After like the 7th, 8th time, I'm guessing it's not an experiment.
It's not an experiment. Yeah, of
Experiment
course,
is over.
Forget about the 7th, 8th time. Even after the 2nd, 3rd time. An experiment stops at 1 time, 2 times.
Yeah.
Probably that can be understood. Probably. हाँ, एक बार किया, 2 बार किया, 8वीं बार कर रहे हो तो experiment थोड़ी है वो.
That also in a controlled manner where all the safety precautions are taken.
Very well said. In an experiment, the conditions are always kept in control.
Yeah.
And you always have the boundary conditions delimited, defined well in advance. This much for this, and this is the kind of output that I want to note.
Yeah.
ये experiment हो रहा है, इसमें से ये बातें note करनी है. And then the experiment is done. A crude example again. Look at the nuclear arsenal India has. The latest report says we have over 100 nuclear weapons. How many nuclear experiments, that is explosions, did we conduct?
None.
5.
That's all. 1998 Pokhran. Plus 1 so-called peaceful explosion in 74. That's all that is needed. In fact, the entire world has not conducted any open nuclear experiments since many decades.
Yeah. Like where would they? I mean,
Hiroshima, Nagasaki.
I'm saying experiment नहीं था.
वो experiment ही था.
जो explosion होते हैं ना, जिसे करा जाता है, वो किसी ने नहीं करे बहुत decades से. Even North Korea is not getting into that.
Yeah. It's like testing those nuclear.
Testing weapons in the open.
Yeah.
In the open.
Yeah.
वो कोई नहीं कर रहा है.
Yeah.
भाई जितना करना था हो गया.
Yeah.
और बहुत ज़्यादा नहीं करना होता है.
Yeah.
हाँ? 5 or 6 explosions sufficed for your country. That's all. 5 or 6 is the maximum that you need to have.
Yeah.
And then you can build an entire arsenal. You don't need anything beyond that.
Yeah.
Huh? Not 7 or 8.
Yeah.
Not 7 or 8.
No, that's
Draw the line at 5.
Draw the line at 5.
All right, man.
वो addiction तो दूसरी बात है. Even with the experimenting, the only way to do it is if there was a world in which you could make sure it's tested, make sure let's say आपको एक certain drug करना है, आप किसी से खरीद रहे हो, you don't know if you're actually doing that drug that you were trying to experiment with.
And in experiments that involve the human body, much more care is taken. Certain experiments are even till date not allowed in genetics or in molecular biology or in eugenics. आज भी अलाउ नहीं कर रहे हैं क्योंकि वो ह्यूमन बॉडी से रिलेटेड हैं या फीटस के साथ होता है, वो आज भी अलाउ नहीं कर रहे हैं. देन हाउ कैन यू प्ले विद दिस बॉडी दैट यू हैव, दैट टू विद द ब्रेन? Let's not even call that an experiment. That's just foolishness. Also, an experiment is done when you do not know the result in advance. The first thing I said was it is a chemical and it's going to have a particular impact here. The impact it has already been researched and documented well in advance and in detail.
It's known.
It's known. Read that. Why do you need to try that upon yourself?
It's like if someone tells you the fire will burn you, but you still want to stick
You
your
still
hand
want to
in.
say, no, I want to experience the subjective impact of fire.
Yeah.
That's foolish. It's foolish.
Yeah. I've asked all. That's all I needed to know.
Yeah, this was...
Do you guys have anything?
Man.
I mean, we'll be here all day.
Yeah, we'll just be here all day.
Do you have anything to ask us?
Yeah.
I asked you so many things. I
Yeah.
mean, that's the way I...
No, I think there was a...
Very fruitful.
Yeah, I really appreciate this, and I want to thank you for doing this.
Oh,
Yeah.
I thank you.
And I
Thank
would
you
love
so
to
much for
sit down
coming.
again whenever you're in
Surely,
Mumbai
definitely. If I'm in Mumbai, I'll come to you and be my guest whenever you are in NCR.
Yes.
Do come over. Not
Yes.
just for the sake of formality. Just please.
No, I would like to share my experience of reading the Gita with you after I've...
Yeah, can we all read it and then maybe
Yes,
we
why
can
not? Why not?
Follow-up
discuss it.
episode.
And there is no need to go through the entire volume. Just read a
Just
chapter
start.
each.
Mm.
A chapter each of your choice. From anywhere,
Yeah.
from the middle, from the end, anywhere. Just read it and come over and share the experiment.
Yeah.
And
The right one.
that too gives a kind of high.
Yeah.
A very
Yeah.
particular kind of high.
Yeah.
And then we'll just...
Yeah,
Yes.
we can talk about
अभी
it.
तो पक्का try करूँगा.
100%. Yeah.
Sure, thank you so
Thank you
much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh man.